It's one of those things that the world around you kind of stops. So I was flying with, my co-pilot was a senior, but how we were landing required me to be on the flight controls. So the last maybe 5 minutes or so, radios are going nuts, everything's going nuts. And as it gets closer, I don't know what happened, but the last 30 seconds, the flight lead makes a pretty abrupt turn. And at the last minute, I had to, we're basically a flight of 4, just going, at a sharp turn as we're making our approach, so as we're landing. So we're coming in for the landing, and it was gonna be dusty. And we're coming in a lot hotter than we were supposed to. And we come down and we hit the ground, and we actually had a little forward roll, which is frowned upon in the dust for sure, because if you hit, any bumps or whatever, anything that you didn't see in the dust, you don't know what you're gonna hit.
Are there any missions that you flew on that you can kind of share? Were there any hairy missions?
There was one that was hairy. It was
I have 4 dogs, and they've eaten all types of different food, and we recently found Team Dog, I believe this spring, so we've been on it for a year. Seeger was on it first, and Tiller was on it, and then we put the Goldens on it, and I mean, all the dogs eat less food, the dogs' coats are way better. Everything about Team Dog is, I'm very impressed. My dog trainer, Justin Allen, he uses it on all 60 dogs that are there for training. He's tried every single food in the game too, and they just stay super healthy on this Team Dog.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. He's a retired Green Beret and Black Hawk pilot with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or SOAR, aka the Night Stalkers. He's also the author of Stigma, which we're going to dig into, and that book will be released on October 21st of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Nick O'Kelly.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thanks for coming. Man, what a cool background, in that there's a SEAL that has a similar story. You may know him. Rutledge, I think is his last name.
I don't know him personally, but I've heard of him, yes.
But, such a unique combination of both a special operator first and then, a helo pilot for, some of those same units, or, for units within the military at a host of different levels. Before I get into even the lightning round, I'd love to know, just kind of on a basic premise, what was the big shift of wanting to do that?
It's a big shift for leaving SF for me it was more personal and family related. My son was born 3 weeks before a 6-month deployment, and I was saw the writing on the wall that this life was going to be a lot more taxing, I guess, on the family and the wife if I was going to do it long term. So I already had the aviation bug. This is going way back, but before I even joined the Army, I looked into the high school to flight school program, and it didn't work out. So I ended up going 18 X-ray. So I already had that bug in me, and then that was kind of the catalyst of that deployment. I was like, let's go see what else is out there, and aviation was the solution.
Well, I've got a million other questions, but I want to get to just kind of the boilerplate stuff first. What's the last book you've read or reading right now?
So I got 2. I'm doing an audio version of a book called Phoenix Revival. It's written by Kagan Gill. He was a F-18 pilot in the Navy, and I think it's the fastest recorded or fastest survived ejection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was over the ocean. Basically, it's it was miraculous that he even survived. His dry suit actually ripped, and he got hypothermia in the water, and that's what actually stopped the bleeding. So the irony, right? His equipment failed, and that's what saved him. And then, but the whole book is his story after that too. He gets back in the cockpit, and then he starts dealing with this crazy mental health stuff, psychosis, all these different things, and it ends up getting him out of the Navy, medically retired. But the beauty of it is now he's back doing endurance events and things like that. So he's kind of, that's why it's called Revival, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of...
Man, what an incredible story. He'd be good to have on here.
Yeah.
If time travel was possible, where and when would you go?
I'm going to give you the cheese ball answer and go back to Jesus' days, man.
No,
I'd walk with Jesus and just see everything that's written, right? See all the miracles that happened and just validate everything.
Yeah. Is that to assume then that you're a man of faith?
I am.
Yeah. There's an enormous thread that I've noticed, which I'll be doing a future episode, probably solely on this, but and how it relates to me personally. I would say in my journey, but the amount of men that have come on this show in the last 7.5 years that fall into the category of people that I would consider having the utmost respect for, who have dedicated their entire lives to serving something bigger and dangerously, and have given, the bulk prime adult years of their life to serve their country in some capacity, whether it's military, law enforcement, whatever. And the amount of guys who are deeply and heavily rooted in Christianity is, maybe it shouldn't be staggering, maybe it should make perfect sense, but it's just this recurring theme that, almost without exception, there's a very, very heavy tie-in, which has, over the years, led me to become more and more curious and open-minded about it, because I grew up staunch Lutheran, and then as soon as I joined the military and went on deployment, it kind of completely flipped that table upside down. And for a long time, I wouldn't say atheist. I've never not believed that there was something else to why we're here and whatever, but it jumbled, my conviction or belief in it to a degree with which I was pretty apathetic to the whole thing. And to me, it's been really interesting and neat to see the amount of guys and how tied in it is.
Yeah, and to be fair, I grew up in a Christian household and all that too, but during my military time, I was not following God. You know what I mean? I was not doing what I knew was right, I guess, doing a lot of things that I would not be confident in calling myself a Christian during those years, I guess. That's a good way to put it. But then since I've transitioned, I've refound that, and I've refound just kind of the importance of it. Really, honestly, one of the biggest things and most beneficial things is the core values, and then getting my kids ingrained in those core values too. I think that's monumental.
For sure it is. To me, it's crucial, and essential. As to answer your question of going back to witness Jesus in his heyday, is there a particular thing that sits at the top of what you would want to witness?
Yeah, I think the walking on water in the middle of a storm, just to see that would be so surreal. Yeah, and it doesn't seem real, like it could have been happening, but
yeah. Do you have a favorite quote?
I do. It's by Vince Lombardi. I'm probably going to butcher it, but perfection is unattainable, but in the pursuit, we will catch excellence. Yeah. I think that's how it's put. Yeah.
Is there a backstory or a reason why that?
Yeah, because I am a perfectionist. I was raised a perfectionist to be a perfectionist, and that's always kind of kept me grounded to the fact that you're never going to be perfect, but it's okay to push for that standard, that high standard. Yeah.
Speaking of being raised, where are you originally from, and what does that childhood look like?
From Marysville, Washington. It's about 30 minutes north of Seattle, so a little more rural, but still suburban. Childhood, so like I said, Christian family, Christian parents. Both my parents are still married today, which is awesome. But they were very strict, very overprotective. So I was the kid that couldn't read Harry Potter because it had magic in it and things like that. Oh yeah, it was over the top.
What denomination was it?
They were actually non-denominational.
Really?
Yeah.
Just
so
hyper strict.
Just very strict, very scared of exposing us to anything, really. So, which was good and bad, right? I got really good grades in school because my mom was really strict. So she would check in with my teachers every Friday and be like, did Nick do his work? Did he turn in all his homework? And I'm so that was my ability to succeed was forced, you know? And then I was grounded all the time. But so I was that kid. I found ways to get around it. Listen to funny little stories. I always joke that like my tactical side started like in high school when I started sneaking out of the house because we had like one of those door alarm systems, you know, on the sliding doors.
Yeah.
And I'd open it a little bit so that the alarm wouldn't go off when I snuck out. And then my parents would go to bed and I'd sneak out the door tactically, you know, jump over the fence, get in my stick shift car, push it out the cul-de-sac and then get going.
Pop the clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. What car was it?
It was an Acura Integra, 1988.
That's pretty spicy for
I know.
a high school kid.
I think I got it for like $1,100 or something.
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Full-blown Fast and the Furious. Huh?
Yep, it was fun.
I am curious. You mentioned the not being able to read well, I guess read because the movies probably weren't out yet. But Harry Potter, because of the magic, it makes me think or wonder, do you find an irony in the hardcore belief for, maybe let me take a step back, the belief for some harder line Christians around the whole magic premise? To me, I find it ironic. Maybe that's the wrong example of it, but that Jesus was largely accused of being a magician or a wizard or whatever because of the miracles performed. So in a way, it seems almost hypocritical to be skeptical of magic, but maybe on the other hand, it's completely valid or verified or validated rather because of that. I don't know. How does that?
Yeah, I know. That's a good point. I think where my parents were coming from and where a lot of people are coming from is that like basically if it's not from Jesus, then it's from the devil, right? Or then it's evil. So I think that was like the delineation.
Yeah. What do you think about that now in terms of raising your kids?
I am a lot more liberal about that. I'm a lot more practical about it, I guess. You know, like, hey, this isn't real, right?
Yeah.
It's fiction. It's okay to expose them to it, in my opinion.
To me, that there's a consistency from my view that no different than free will that God gives us. I think you should give that to your kids and let them experience and expose within reason. I mean, don't buy them a bag of heroin or anything, but you know, to me, like forcing compliance is very different than choosing it, you know, which is to my understanding, kind of the core belief behind free will of God's intention towards mankind.
And that's probably my biggest lesson learned from my childhood is that.
Did you have siblings?
I did. Older sister, 3 years older, younger brother, who's actually a Green Beret as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow,
and then my youngest sister, who has Down syndrome, so she's 7 years younger than me. So that was an interesting experience growing up with that.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Like you always see the things about Down syndrome people being the happiest people in the world, and that is such a fact, man.
Yeah.
Like always looking forward to something, you know.
I mean, it is amazing because most people are not that way. You know, I think humans tend to focus on the pessimistic or negative side, and I think there's a page that could be taken out of the book there of being present and happy kind of no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
Did you play sports much growing up?
I played soccer and baseball till I was like 12, and then I played baseball through high school. I wasn't like anything to write home about, but yeah.
Was having an older sister beneficial or not beneficial?
You know, she was the one that paved the way and did a lot of the wrong things. So it was beneficial in regards of like seeing what not to do. Like I don't want to like make her in a bad light, right? Like she ended up she joined the Army.
Oh, wow.
Too. So all 3 of us joined the Army. And was a 68 whiskey combat medic and went to Iraq and everything.
Your parents have to be beaming with pride.
They are. And it's really funny because we always joke about it, like you raised soldiers because you guys were drill sergeants, you know? Like,
man, that's wild. That's really cool.
Yeah.
From a catalyst standpoint, what was the spark that ignited your interest in joining the Army? Or was there one? There was,
yeah. So I went to college and got the taste of freedom and got the separation from my parents a little bit and went off the rails. I was drinking, partying, you know, and just I was the kid that like would sleep in until noon and be like, oh shoot, I missed class, and then that would happen for 3 weeks straight, and then I'm like, well, it's not even worth going back, you know. So I lasted about 1.5 years in college. But during that time, I was in ROTC at Gonzaga University. So through the ROTC exposure, I got exposure to the Army. And after I dropped out, I went home, worked for my dad for like 6 months, and then ended up joining.
What did your dad do business-wise?
He owned a car magazine. So like the old school auto traders that you'd see in like a grocery store? One of those, but it was in Spanish. So it was called El Caro. Yeah, I know, right? Super original, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume he speaks fluent Spanish?
He does, which is so funny. He's just a big white guy you'd never expect.
I mean, did he do a missionary or something?
No, so he was raised in Southern California and he just worked in restaurants and literally just picked it up like that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So even as like a young kid and in high school, joining the military wasn't really in the front sight focus?
No, I was never that kid that like wanted, I never really got into it, to be honest. I didn't even know what a Green Beret was until the recruiter told me.
And so what was it about that made you say, yeah, that's what I want to do?
It was, so I started the aviation path first because there's a program called High School to Flight School where you can basically theoretically join out of high school and go to flight school, but that's not the case. You usually need like a college degree or prior like pilot experience. So, but I was going down that path and I was like 6 months down it. And then I still had a couple months to even find out if I was getting picked up. So I was going nowhere, drinking my life away, just kind of literally living on my buddy's dining room, in my buddy's dining room that we just put curtains on to make it a room. So that was I was basically like, I need to do something. I need to get in the Army now. And I asked the recruiter, like, what else can I do other than aviation that I will be proud of? Because at this point, my parents were viewing me as a failure. I was kind of viewing myself as a failure and I didn't want to be. So he showed me the SF recruiting video, dudes camoed up, coming out of the swamps and free falling and all that stuff. And I was like, that's badass. Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Was it smooth sailing from that point on in terms of getting in and going through the pipeline? Were there any big hurdles or?
Not too much for me. Yeah. No, I was pretty fortunate that I had the ROTC exposure. So like, I knew what the PT test was. I knew what the fitness standards were. So I went into it at least clear-eyed on that part.
Yeah. Was there anything about the SF training pipeline, whether it's Q course or really any part of it, that surprised you either way, whether it was easier than you thought, harder than you thought, or just kind of an expectation versus reality thing?
For sure. The length of it for sure was like daunting, just because for me it was a year and a half, and there's so many portions of the course where like you could fail any day and either get recycled or kicked out, whatever. So that aspect definitely surprised me. It takes a lot of like endurance and keeping yourself out of trouble for a long time, which honestly, a lot of people don't make it because they get in trouble, not because they fail something, right? Yeah. They get a DUI or whatever. That, and then being an 18 X-ray, so like a SF recruit going straight in as that, the like small unit tactics portion was pretty overwhelming for me because I had to step in and like be in charge of this Ranger Battalion staff sergeant, and pretend like I knew more than him about what we were doing on our patrol. So that part was challenging for me, stepping into that leadership role.
So X-ray is an ambiguous, just you're an SF guy. There's not an actual specialization to it.
So it's an SF recruit. So it's before you. It's basically like the SEAL contract when you can go in the military and you get the right to go to selection. So you go to infantry, basic, airborne school, all at Benning. Just in case you fail out of the SF pipeline, then you become an infantry guy. So it gives you the chance to go to selection, essentially.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize that existed. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, I think it started in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's wild. So going through that pipeline, I guess, minus those surprises, you find yourself at what first duty station once you make it all the way through selection?
So I went to Okinawa, Japan. Really? Yeah, I was a 1st Battalion, 1st Special Forces guy. Yep.
How was that experience overall?
So first Okinawa was amazing. Being on the island was amazing.
And what year is this?
This is 2012 when I got out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So my wife was active duty too, so we were able to get the dual military studio apartment on the water. That part was awesome.
Yeah.
The team dynamic was interesting. When I showed up with a bunch of other new guys, the company was actually deployed, so they were in Afghanistan. So we were rear D for, I think, 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
And they lost somebody like a week after we showed up. So it was a somber like experience seeing them coming back from combat. We're new guys that have no experience, and it was really like segregated, to be honest. It was the old dudes, and then you guys shut up in color and sit in your corner, you know, until we tell you can say something. So it took a while to get over that.
Is hazing or then, I guess, was it a common tactic for the old guys and you guys?
A little bit. Not like physical smoking or anything like that, but like stupid shit, like carry a bowling pin around until another new guy shows up everywhere you go in the company. Stupid things like that, you know. Nothing.
So not so much like physical.
Nothing egregious like that.
Yeah. How long were you there before you deployed the first time?
I was there, so I got there in 2012, deployed in 2014. Well, so combat deployment was 2014, and then I did some JSITs. I did 3 JSITs before that deployment.
Were those all just training, nothing actually?
Yeah, but one was pretty cool. We got to go to Nepal, and we had a 2-week like white space period on the front end, and we got to do Everest Base Camp.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's
so
cool.
High altitude training.
Yeah. What is the altitude at base camp?
Base camp's just under 18,000.
Man,
but you go up to like 18.4 at one point. And it's,
I mean, can you describe the effect of being at that elevation?
Yeah. So the thing that amazes me most is that like when you're up there, you see like 60, 65-year-old men doing this, right? Mm-hmm. And we were 20-year-old, Green Berets in great shape. And when you're walking up at 18,000 feet, I'm not kidding. Every single step is labored, and every 3 steps you have to stop and just deep breathe just to keep going another 3 steps. Like it was, and that's not exaggerating. Like it was pretty brutal.
How long were you there for?
We did 10 days on the trek.
I mean, I imagine that the biggest contributing factor to that is acclimation or lack thereof, right? I mean, I assume that those 65-year-old guys have been there for a few weeks, right?
Yeah. Yep. So every day you go up another 500 feet from where you're staying. So you go up, get exposed, come back down, sleep, and then do the next day.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Did anybody get altitude sickness or anything when you?
Yeah, we had a couple. Everybody made it to base camp, luckily. But then after that, I think the night after that, two of our senior guys got altitude sickness. Yeah.
Stepping into your first combat deployment, can you say where you went?
Yeah. So it was technically a combat deployment. It wasn't like shooting people in the face. It was by, with, and through doing the FID mission to the Philippines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was a 6-month OEFP combat rotation, but we were essentially training their tier 1 guys or their SF guys to go do God's work.
We ended up, we did a very similar thing. Of course, this was back in 2000, but, no, I'm sorry, it was 2002. But we were up in the north. Were you guys in the north, like in Luzon, or were you down in Mindanao?
Yep. No, we were so we had both. Yeah. We had people in the south and in the north. We would rotate through. Yeah. All the operations were in the south, though.
And it's safe to assume that at that time, like most periods in the post 9/11 era of FID missions with the Philippines, that you guys weren't allowed to do direct combat.
Exactly.
Because there have been instances of that, but they're pretty rare.
Yeah. I mean, and it sucked at the time, because like you see the other groups going to Afghanistan and stuff and getting it, and it was kind of like, damn, we missed the boat. But like looking back on it, man, like that is the true mission of Special Forces and Green Berets, right? Is enabling others. So it's cool. Yeah. It's cool that we got to do it in that way.
Did you keep track or keep in touch with any of those guys as to what they did or how they did or anything they accomplished? Like, did you guys have any kind of follow-up?
I didn't personally, because I was actually in charge of refining their schoolhouse. So I was actually up north and helping the tier 1 guys set up and establish their schoolhouse and refine how they make operators. So that was my role. So I wasn't actually like high-fiving dudes and telling them, go do great things. I was really integrated in the schoolhouse and the command level.
Yeah. After that deployment, did you go back to Okinawa?
I did. Yeah, I went back to Okinawa. I dropped my flight school packet during that deployment. So that was my, so when I got back to Okinawa, I did a Australia trip, which was like just a training exercise, but it was pretty cool to go there. And then Yeah, pretty much after that, I was getting ready to go to Fort Rucker. So
you got picked up for the flight gig.
I did.
Pretty quick.
Yep. Yeah. So you put in a packet, resumes, letter of recs, all that stuff, and heard back and got picked up.
Yeah.
So
at that point, I assume that you have no idea, or there's no thought put into what platform you'll actually be piloting, right?
No.
It's just
so
very generic.
Yeah, it is generic. So I did want 60s from the get-go, though.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't, but since in my time in Okie, that was all the work that I did with choppers was either a 60 or a CH-47.
Yeah.
And that's not Army, obviously. So
Yeah.
I just like the 60. It was the sexy,
Yeah.
the sexy thing.
Can you walk us through that pipeline that is TF-160? I mean, obviously it's a very elite, very select group, and then there's not a lot of kind of info out there on what, from the time you get picked up and day one when you show up until you're actually, ready to deploy. Can you walk us through that kind of thing?
Do you want me to go through flight school first?
Sure.
So you can't go straight into the 160th because you have to go to the regular Army first and get flight hours.
Okay.
So I had to go through regular Army TRADOC, Army Aviation School with everybody. And then that was like 2 years. Wow. So it was the first portion that you do is called Warrant Officer Candidate School. That's basically where you're becoming a warrant officer from an enlisted guy, and they're teaching you. Honestly, it's a hazing course. I mean, there's no real other way to put it. Like it's one of those like 5-week courses where your phone's gone and you're just doing bullshit every day just to get through.
I mean, are they doing any of the, like, I guess almost traditional hazing where it's not just smoking you or making you do push-ups, but like taping you up and electrocuting you?
No, none of that. So it was like stupid stuff where like your room had to be perfectly like dress, and you had to label everything in a certain way and obviously make your bed, do all that stuff. And then every morning there's like a room inspection. You'd have to stand outside your door and they'd come in and throw your shit and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
gotcha.
Yeah.
So a normal day at Bud's then?
Yeah, except not as high caliber, I will say.
So 5 weeks of that, and then flight training.
And then flight training. You start with ground school. So you start with learning aerodynamics, airspace, aeromed, all that good stuff, and then you go into primary, which that's your first time in the real helicopter. I was the second class to use the new Army trainer called the Lakota. So it's like the old school one had steam gauges, which is like no digital anything in the cockpit, and this one had full glass cockpit, meaning TV, little iPads, essentially is the best way to explain it. And it had like autopilot systems where you could couple the aircraft so it flies for you, things like that. So I got a lot of shit for that because it was like, you're not a real pilot if you learn in this, but I would argue that it was a better trainer because we're transitioning into these advanced airframes,
Wow.
and we're learning them anyways. So.
I mean, obviously, I think anybody listening, and myself included, would have an expectation or an assumption that flight school is generally pretty difficult. Did you find it to be difficult, and were there times where you stumbled during that pipeline where you were kind of on the bubble of making it or not?
Yeah, so mentally, yes, it's difficult. It's a lot of like rope memorization. Like you literally have to memorize chapters of a TM, literally 2 chapters of TM, and know them in and out, know the exact like emergency procedures. If this happens, this is the exact steps we do. What are the helicopter limitations? All those things. So there's a ton of like rope memorization. So it is mentally challenging. The more challenging part for me, and I don't know if you want to get down the mental health road this early, but was the transition from special forces to aviation and just the culture shock that I was not expecting.
Is that the singular biggest issue that you had, was the culture difference, or was there anything else to it?
It was that, and then a lot of just chronic built up stress. Like I'm the type of person that goes a million miles an hour in whatever I do, and I think it was a lot of my body just telling me to slow the hell down, Yeah. So I think it was a lot of culminating factors that led into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. So I'm curious. I mean, if you take a step back and think about Q course selection, no different than Buds or Ranger School or whatever. I mean, those are pretty archetypical, I guess, understandings from the general population that that's like, the toughest U.S. military training.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, number one, from a Q course and Green Beret selection standpoint, going through that and typically, if you can make it through that successfully, to hear that flight school put you in this kind of mental state of being super stressed out is to me kind of surprising.
Yeah. Well, and that was frustrating to me too, because I would tell myself that, right? Like, I'm like, I did all this shit. Like, why is this happening now?
Yeah.
But it actually, like, it got really bad. So after primary, I selected Blackhawks. That was my number one choice. And once I started the Black Hawk course, same thing. You start with like a ground portion where you're learning the systems and engines and all that stuff. And man, that's when I like got hit with like suicidal thoughts and depression. Yeah, out of nowhere, man. Just like a Mack truck just punched me in the face with it. So
are you aware of any other contributing factors other than just the stress, like any TBI from breaching charges or hard landings and jumps or anything like that?
Not that I know of. My synopsis on it, as looking back on it in retrospect, is that like we had 2 kids under 2, so we weren't sleeping. I was going through the stressors of flight school. My wife was still active duty, so we're both just kind of in like survive mode, and just kind of going through the motions of everything, and I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. So I think it was a lot of those things. Yeah. And it was just a lot of chronic stress that just hit me one day, and I just,
So, I mean, obviously that's real heavy mental stress. Yeah. Is there an excerpt or story that you can share from Q course that from your memory exemplifies the most mentally stressful challenge that you faced?
For sure.
And then compare it to flight school?
Yeah, so for me it was in selection, in doing log and rifle PT. Log PT, you're familiar with it. You're 5 dudes on a log, just getting after it to basically till you can't do anything anymore. And then rolling over each other, and then you go straight into rifle PT. And rifle PT's literally just carrying a dummy M4 or M16 and, lifting it over your head a million times till you can't move your arms. And that's the moment in selection where the cadre are like in your face, like you look like you're gonna quit, you wanna quit, you know what I mean? And you see people starting to trickle out. And I had to constantly tell myself, like, even though I couldn't freaking do it, I could not do one more rep. And the cadre's in my face, like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, just pick up the rifle, you know what I mean? And that, I had to look around and look at other people and be like, okay, they're sucking too. Like, we're all in it together, and if they're doing it, I can do it, They're not gonna kick me out of here. I have to actually quit. And that was like kind of the conversation I had with myself. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and so using that as kind of the gauge on the SF selection side, is there a story similar to that where you found yourself or find yourself looking back on flight school as being the most stressful thing by comparison?
So what's interesting is like, I don't think the flight school aspect was the stressful part. I think it was all the other life factors that had added to it, that put me in that place. Yeah. Because if I had just gone through flight school, like, as a single guy or whatever, and this is not to like blame it on my family, okay. But
you can blame it on your family.
But I think it would have been different. You know what I mean? I think it would have been a little different because guys have a great time.
It'd be completely different.
Yeah, guys go there and party, go to Panama City Beach, and have a good time. So a lot of people have a really good time at flight school.
Yeah. The hat on the coffee table sitting right in front of me belonged to Glenn Doherty. It was a John Deere hat that I gave him. He had it when he tragically passed in Benghazi. Bub's Naturals is a tribute to Glenn. They have collagen peptides, which I put into my morning routine every single morning, as well as the functional creamer / MCT oil that goes into it as well. They have hydrate or dielectric electrolyte drink mixes, which are great for pre-workout, during workout, and post-workout to get all the added sodium, potassium, magnesium, et cetera, that's required when you deplete it. Bubs is a family company. the way that they started is, again, super close to my heart, with him being one of my closest friends for a long time. And I encourage you to go to bubs.com, and now there's a landing page specifically for Mic Drop listeners. Just enter the code Mike, M-I-K-E, all caps, and you get 20% off your first purchase at bubsnaturals.com. So that's www.bubsnaturals.com/Mike. And you can check out the Mic Drop landing page and go support an amazing cause. At what point, I guess, like in the entire scope of flight school, did it, like how far through from a percentage standpoint were you when it really kind of struck home that you were in a bad spot?
About 2/3 of the way through. Yeah. So it was, because I was in the 60 course in the advanced airframe. Yeah.
So with that, I mean, was there a moment where it could have gone either way, or was it that way for the rest of the time, where you were on the verge of failing out or being kicked out or whatever?
So I did really well, actually. I ended up graduating this distinguished honor grad in my flight school class, despite all that. But the crux of it was that I was suicidal the entire time.
Really?
Depressed, suicidal, just could not shake it. I was the guy that, like, when I got those thoughts initially, like, I just obsessed over them because I was trying to fix them. That was like my default was, hey, how do we fix this? And that reinforced it. And that just ended up creating this stupid thought cycle and endless thought loop that just kept me trapped, I guess, is the best way to put it.
I mean, were you at a point during that time period where it wasn't just something that you thought about, but you actually like had a plan for? Like, did you get that far along that process?
Yeah, yes and no. I never wanted to do it. The entirety of it lasted for 5-6 years. So the entirety of that time, though, I never wanted it. Like, it was always something that I knew was like, just, it sounds crazy, but another voice, right? Like somebody else telling me or whatever. But I would get like visualizations of it all the time. Like,
really? Was it always the same, or?
No, it was every situation, man. It was like, if I was driving, over a bridge, there's a bridge, that's a really easy way to do it. Like, driving just to work, there's a telephone pole, just do it, right? Like, cutting vegetables, I'm holding a knife. Like, it was scary, man. Yeah. It was really like, whatever, incapacitating, I guess is the best way to put it.
Did you ever share that with any of the leadership or any of your classmates?
Never with classmates. So shortly after it, like the onset of it, I was getting pretty scared that like I was going to do something. And I keep my pistol and like my fingerprint safe by my bed. And one night I told my wife to get it, take it apart, and fucking hide it from me. Because I was just, I never planned on doing it, but I was scared that the thought was going to become too much, that I was going to do it. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
But did your wife know prior to you making that request that you were struggling with it? So
no, man.
Did she ask you, like, what is this about?
For sure. And she was almost like, she didn't know what to do. Because, like, I was always, as men, we're always like the protectors or the leader of our household. And, like, I'm the one that's there if she needs help with something like that, right? She doesn't know what to do if I need something like that. So she was very caught off guard by it and just did not know what to do. And we kind of, like, after that happened, we kind of didn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to talk about it. It was kind of just something that we were like, that happened, that sucks. Like, let's move on. Yeah.
And did you share that with any of your cadre leadership?
No, I was terrified too. Yeah. But one day I did go, because as a pilot, if you have to go on any like anti-anxiety, antidepressant medicine, like you're grounded. You can't fly. So especially in flight school, like I wasn't going to risk that, right? So one day I did go to the chaplain though, because I was like, this is probably my safest option, and I didn't want to go home. I just, it sounds so crazy, but I was scared to go home. Like I knew there was access to stuff at home, and I just didn't want to do it. So I went to the chaplain, told him what happened, told him what's going on. And the irony is he drove me to behavioral health. He had to, because I admitted self-harm. So I didn't know that. And behavioral health was the last place I wanted to be, especially during flight school. So I go there, I check into the clinic. They give me like this suicide questionnaire. It was like questions like, do you have thoughts of doing it? Yes. Do you have a plan to do it? No. Do you want to do it? No. Do you have a means to do it? Yes. Like whatever, going down that list and fill it out. I go back, get called back by the clinician. You know, I'm literally like shaking and shit because I'm just like, fuck, like this could be my career. This could be it. She reads the questionnaire and I'm not kidding you, her synopsis was like, I think this is temporary and I think you're good to continue training. She gave me like one tool, which was like, when you have a suicidal thought, just think of changing the channel on a TV. And that was it. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like a 6-year-old would think of that. You know what I mean? Like I felt insulted. Like to be fair, it was a blessing, right? Because I kept training and everything. But I looked back in my medical records recently while I was writing my book and I found that encounter. And there's literally quotations saying that I said, it feels like there's demons in my head. And I'm like,
and that was
you let me walk out of there like after hearing that, like without any like, hey, let's follow up in a week, let's follow whatever, you know, like.
Yeah, so there was no follow-up.
Nothing, because I was like, I'm not going back there. Like, I'm not jeopardizing everything. So it left me kind of fixing it on my own. You know, I'm trying to at least. Crazy.
I mean, to me, this displays a huge predicament in that, you know, I can certainly understand the position you're in where it's like you've put all this work in, you got years of training that you don't want to just be rinsed away.
Right.
On the same token, I would have assumed that mental health professionals within the U.S. military would have a firmer grasp on how to handle that. And frankly, even though I know it was a blessing, like that could have been catastrophic.
Absolutely.
You know, and it seems like a pretty big fumble on their part.
Yeah, and it is catastrophic to other people. You know, like I'm one of the lucky ones that made it through all that shit. Like, yeah, that might be the one thing that pisses me off the most about it is just that how many people has that happened to?
Right.
You know, that didn't make it.
Yeah. Do you know if the evaluation had gone different and they said, hey, we're keeping you here for a period of time or we're prescribing whatever medication that's going to ground you, can you come back from that, especially if you're in training?
I don't know how they handle it in flight school. I know once you get to a unit, you have I think it's a 6-month period where you have to be grounded so they can basically see if the medication's stable, if you're good, right? And but then after that, you can get back in the cockpit, even on the medication.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
After that 6-month period, as long as you're like, yeah, I'm good, right? So.
But you're not sure if that applies to flight school?
I don't know. My thought process was like, if they kick me out of flight school, I'm going to try to go back and revert to being an SF guy. Like that was my backup plan.
Yeah. All right, so you make it through. Did the suicidal ideations intensify, de-intensify, if that's a word? I mean, did they increase or decrease? Did they stay about the same as you got into your first operational unit? And that was with a normal Army unit.
It was, yeah. So I went to Savannah, Georgia, 3rd Combat Aviation Brigade. They didn't get better, no. I got better at hiding it and better at, I guess, living with it, if you can. But it was still there, for sure. And I actually chose Savannah because they were deploying to Afghanistan shortly after getting there. So as like a new pilot, your entire goal is to get as many flight hours as possible because you want to make what's called pilot in command, which is when you're in charge of the aircraft and the crew and everything. So that's kind of you punching your ticket to now I'm a validated pilot in the Army.
How many hours does that require?
Depends. So for us, since we were deployed, they upped it to 500, but usually it's like 300-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had a stricter requirement since we were in theater.
Does TF-160 have a minimum number of hours before you can even apply?
Yeah, so it's 500 and you have to be the pilot in command.
Yeah, for a certain amount of time or just check that box?
Nope, check that box and you can throw in your packet, which is exactly what I did the second I had it.
Well, so how long did it take you to check both of those boxes of 500 hours and pilot in command?
I think, so I was fortunate so we did a 9-month deployment to Afghanistan and I think like 6 months in, 6, maybe 7, I had those hours.
Wow.
So you get it probably I'm going to butcher this, 150 maybe out of flight school. So you have a baseline. And then, we were flying 6 to 8 hours a day. So it was awesome to be able to get that.
And I assume that in combat, it's not like dog years where 1 hour of flight time in combat is 2 in the bush, kind of like there's nothing.
I wish
like that.
that would have been awesome. No, but we did get I did get a lot of like goggle hours too, which was helpful. And combat hours so combat hours are counted as combat hours, not just flight hours. So it does look better if they're combat hours.
And does TF-160 to apply, do they have a minimum number of hours on night vision?
They actually don't.
Really?
No. I think the reason for that is because a lot of Apache pilots want to go assess, and Apache pilots don't fly MVGs very often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flying that much in a regular Army unit, were the combat missions, from your perspective, true combat missions, or was it we're moving general
Ass
so-and-so?
and trash, man.
Yeah.
It was doing ring routes from airfield to airfield. I did get like 1 or 2 actual air assaults with an ODA, which was cool. But other than that, whenever we had a mission that came down, the senior guys in the unit in the company would take it.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of one of those things that, as the new guys, we were just flying airfield to airfield, kind of doing that airline pilot thing, which was frustrating, but it got me to where I wanted to be. So
I mean, to me, in that first 500 hours, or your first push as a helo pilot in the Army, I mean, to me, I would kind of rather it be that way. I mean, I know it's slow rolling and frustrating, but it's like you start throwing dudes with 220 hours, into on night vision, inserting an ODA, like that's a pretty dicey.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. And like, you're still in Afghanistan, so you're still like, we got shot at, but it was like area, shooting. Like you'd see tracer rounds coming towards the helicopter. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Oh shit, we're like about to get hit. It was more just like, it's weird. And it's super surreal when you're in a helicopter, because like it's so loud that you just see it, but it doesn't feel real in a weird way. It's almost like
a video game.
Yeah, almost like that. Almost like you're disassociated with it, because it's just so loud in the helicopter. You don't hear the gunfire or anything.
So once you had those boxes checked and you met all the requirements to drop a package or an application for TF-160, you did?
I did. Yeah, literally, I think probably like when I had 501 hours, I was like, I'm doing this. Because I was still dealing with that depression and stuff. So I was really disgruntled, man. Our unit was pretty toxic. Like, command climate was pretty bad. It was very reactive instead of proactive. And just unit morale sucked. So everybody was kind of like, unit morale is always shitty at the end of a deployment, right? Yeah. But it was worse because of that. So I was either going to get out of the Army or go to 160th. That was my decision.
Yeah. You mentioned that the suicidal thoughts and depression didn't improve at all during that time. One, did they get worse, and or at any time throughout your entire active duty time dealing with this, did you ever see a therapist or a psychiatrist at all?
Not until very late. Once I got grounded later in the 160th for a surgery.
Oh, okay.
So it took a long time. And no, they didn't really get better. Like it was as bad as this sounds, every day getting in the helicopter and flying like doors off, it was just 3 feet away to jump out of the helicopter. And that was kind of to be fair, like it's not like that was always happening in my mind, right? Like there's adrenaline and there's things you have to do as a pilot that did keep that suppressed. But when we were just flying straight and level, like there was times where I'm like, dude, this is so easy. I could just get into it right now and just do it,
Looking back on it, do you have any concept as to why you were feeling that way? Like, have you uncovered in subsequent years what the contributing factor to that was?
So the catalyst was the chronic stress, for sure. It was the not sleeping, pushing myself to the limit nonstop, physically and mentally, and then just not taking care of myself, I guess is the best way to put it. The thing that kept it going, I think, looking back on it, the thing that kept me in that rut was me giving those thoughts attention and like not giving myself any grace. Like I was so freaking hard on myself, man. I was like, the hell's wrong with you? You know, your life's perfect. You're doing everything right. Everything looks good. Like, you have no excuse for feeling this way. What the hell is wrong with you? And I do think that like was destructive and really helped in a negative way, you know?
So even on deployment, where now the factors of home life and lack of sleep, I mean, obviously deployment is stressful inherently.
Yeah.
However, it's still, at least in my mind, thinking about it, like there would be a part of it that a significant amount of stress from the, you know, dealing with 2 young kids and the day-to-day home life stuff being removed, that didn't help at all.
It didn't, man. I think it's just I don't know. I think I was just so far deep in it that it just had a grasp on me. I don't know. So I was trying, like I was doing meditation, journaling, kind of what I could, you know, praying all the time and things like that. And nothing was really flipping the switch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there ever an image or an idea in your mind as you were putting your package in for TF-160 that maybe that was the wrong choice, or that maybe that even you're being or feeling selfish for doing so because you're feeling this way and now trying to go to this next level and potentially put special operators' lives in danger because of where you're at?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it was almost the opposite, because it was almost, my mentality was like, if I get here, everything's going to get better, you know, because I blamed a lot of everything on the culture that I was in the regular Army and the unit and things like that. So I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to do something in the helicopter to endanger people. Like, that was like, I wasn't that off, you know what I mean? I wasn't that off the rails. Like, yes, those thoughts happened, but I knew and was confident that I wasn't going to action them. Yeah. So I never had that, like, I'm putting people's lives in danger if I go do this type of mentality. Because it was, you know, it was more me trying to escape and get out of my own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is obviously a purely hypothetical, but I'm curious, knowing where you were at mentally that entire time, if you had been back in an ODA and you knew that your TF-160 pilot was experiencing what you were experiencing, would that have made you uncomfortable having him at the helm?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And
is that something you ever thought about?
So, yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially during that. So when I got to the 160th, everything did get a little better. So I'll back up. On that Afghanistan deployment, there was one night where we had to descend pretty rapidly over a mountaintop to land in an LZ. And when we did that, I did the Valsalva, you know, blowing your ears out. And I got this head over heels vertigo. Like, my head just spun around under MVGs and whatever. Luckily, I wasn't on the flight controls, but I was like, whoa, what the fuck just happened, you know? And when we got back to the airfield after that night, we were walking to midnight chow. And it was like a group of 5 of us walking on this like gravel, whatever area. And I'm in the back of the group, so there's 4 dudes in front of me, and out of nowhere, I just got super dizzy, and I ate shit in the gravel, like literally just walking at night, and I played it off, you know, I was like, whatever, I just tripped, whatever. Nobody really said anything, but I started having these dizzy spells consistently, so I got checked out by a flight doc, flight surgeon, everything. Initially, it was just, this doesn't make any sense to me still, but they said I ruptured my eardrum and to follow up the next day. And when I followed up the next day, they said my ear looked fine. Doesn't make any sense, so I don't know what they saw. But anyways, irregardless, I was having these dizzy spells now. So what I now know is anxiety, panic disorder. Obviously, I didn't want to admit that or call it that. I wanted it to be something physically wrong with me.
That's what was causing the dizziness?
That's what was. Yeah. I didn't know it at the time. I was just like, what the hell is going on, you know? Yeah. Still thought it was kind of my ears or something going on. But all that being said, the depression and suicidal thoughts got better once I got to, really once I made it to the 160th after assessment, really once I knew like, this is my future. Because for the first time in a long time, I actually had like hope for the future, you know? So they went away. Not all the way, right? It was still like once a month, once every other week, whatever. But it wasn't like, it didn't have a grasp on me anymore. Yeah. It wasn't controlling me, you know? So
How old were your children when those thoughts first entered your mind?
my daughter was 6 months, and my son was a little over 2. Yeah, 2.5.
And so from that point until where we're at in your life story right now is what amount of time?
That would be 4 years.
4 years.
3 years, excuse me. 3 years. Yeah.
In that 3-year period, when interacting with your children, changing diapers, feeding, whatever, was there ever a transposing of resentment or feeling like they're why you're feeling this way, and even if, I mean, obviously not physically, but like mentally kind of taking it out on them almost?
It's really weird and uncomfortable to talk about, to be honest, but there were nights where, like, when my daughter was screaming bloody murder, and couldn't go back to sleep, where, like, I was thinking, like, she's freaking demon possessed, like, what is going on, right? And, like, I know that sounds insane, but there were definitely moments like that. No like animosity towards them. I would say the biggest, like, or the worst result of what I was going through was that I was just a fucking shell of myself, like I was just kind of in zombie mode going through the motions, but I had no feeling behind anything that I was doing, I guess.
It's interesting you mentioned the screaming, because I remember when my kids were real young, that's the one thing that would cause this like visceral, like almost panic-like reaction, which I think is probably partly human nature, and that I'm sure there's a hardwired component in all parents that's supposed to do that to a certain extent. But the one thing I did find myself reliving, which was kind of frightening, was I don't know if they do it in your guys' SEER school, but in the Navy SEER school, there's, when you're captured, and I'll be careful about how much I share of this, because I know some of it's sort of sensitive, but maybe there's a similar thing for you, or for your guys, but there was like this closed loop sound system, and one of the sections of this closed loop, it's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, maybe less, I don't even know. I mean, time is a weird...
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Almost construct in SEER school, but especially in the captured portion, and maybe it's the same thing where there's a baby screaming, and then you hear a shotgun cock, and then an explosion, and the screaming stops, and it's it's fucking terrifying.
I can hear it right now in my head as you're talking about it. Yeah.
Have you seen the new 28 Years Later movie?
In the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the trailer the other day, and I was like, oh my God.
Same exact thing. I was in the movie theater, and I hadn't heard that, because it's not the exact same, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
The second I heard that, it was a terrifying relapse, like time machine back 20 plus years ago into SEER school, and it was really weird.
Isn't it crazy? You can almost like picture, or at least I could like picture where I was when I heard that.
Yeah,
I was like,
the smell, everything. It was crazy. But anyway, I can only imagine that there is some relation to, because of the being hungry, for not eating for 7 days, being sleep deprived, like you're in this weird mental purgatory almost when you're exposed to that, and there's so much psychological weirdness going on that there's probably an attachment to the sounds that you hear in that mental state, and then when you hear them again, there's like this weird...
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, like
that's so interesting.
Like almost cosmic handshake, that's probably a contributing factor. Because I remember my kids screaming. There were times where like there was almost these flashbacks to that moment. I wish they would take that portion out.
You're ruining parents. Come on.
Leave the rest of the stuff in, because there's plenty of other...
For sure.
Psychologically troubling sounds that are in that closed loop, but I think that the child screaming is too primal to, or it's just not a good idea.
Right. It's too much everywhere. Right. It's too common.
Yeah.
I didn't even put that together. That's interesting.
No, I didn't until you mentioned it. It made me think of it as you were talking about it. But I'm sure most people listening that haven't experienced what we experienced in SEER school are probably lost and thinking we're on drugs right now. But man, it's wild. Anyway, so, all right, so there's the 4-year period. Things get a little bit better when you find yourself being selected. Did you know how many people applied to go to TF-160 and how many made it, or do they not share that?
I don't know.
Do you know how many made it? Like how many new guys per class or whatever?
So it's a little different in the 160th, because it's not like, you're not like in a dedicated class until you get to training. So like your assessment, Assessment's only a week long. So your assessment is kind of just a hodgepodge of random people that applied.
Yeah.
So it's not really like, you don't really know them, you know? And assessment, like I'll give you like the brief overview, what I can, but essentially there's a physical portion, psychological portion. So you're doing like PT tests, all that normal stuff. You do a bunch of psych tests the first day. And then the next day you do a swim test. I think it's like, it was hard for me not being a good swimmer. I'll say that. Like I'm an okay swimmer, but I was a Green Beret for a reason, man. I'm a land animal. I'm not a water guy. So I trained for it because I knew it was part of it. So I trained enough to barely pass, I guess. That was the hardest part for me physically. Then after that you meet your like assessment cadre. So assessment's different. It's literally like one-on-one. Like it's a cadre and you. That's it, man. And he gives you basically what you're doing the rest of the week. Like he gives you your mission for the week. You have to go plan, execute, brief a mission. You have you have to do everything by hand. So your map by hand, plot your map and everything, do land nav in the air, and hit your target plus or minus 30 seconds with all that against you, which isn't really hard standard to meet when you have no idea what the hell you're doing in that regard. So that portion, and then it ends. Sometimes you do one or two missions depending on when you board, and then the end is a formal board in front of them, and they give you your fate.
Hey guys, I want to take a minute to tell you about the Mic Drop Patreon, where you can get the real mic drop experience the way it's meant to be seen. You get completely uncensored, unfiltered, and uncut episodes with nothing held back, just raw, real conversations directly from me to you, without YouTube censorship. Plus, you'll see it days before anyone else, with early premieres and exclusive bonus content that you won't find anywhere else. You get behind-the-scenes access to the show, including pre- and post-show footage, with me and the guest both in studio and on location, depending on what the guest is into and what we have going on. On top of that, we've got tons of Patreon-only perks, mic drop swag, access to exclusive merch, and the chance to submit your questions to be asked at the end of every episode. You'll also get a sneak peek at our upcoming guests, so you'll know who's in the studio weeks before anyone else. We're constantly releasing new features and dropping new content based on what you want to see. For our top tier members, you get the same mic drop challenge coin that all of my guests receive from the upcoming show, which will never ever be for sale. We've got quarterly merch that's sent out directly to you, a monthly Zoom call with me where we talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, and an active group chat where we all shoot the shit on a daily basis. All of that for just a few bucks a month to support the show. Right now, we're also offering a 10% discount off an annual subscription, which means that you get more than a free month. I want to say thank you to everyone who has already signed up. Your support means that we get to keep bringing you the content that you love. So if you haven't yet, hit the link in the description or go to patreon.com/micdrop and join the team. I'll see you guys in there. Thank you. When you're doing the plus or minus 30-second part of the selection test, do the evaluators, they I assume know your background, that you were a Green Beret?
Yeah.
Is there of course there's going to be some bias. I mean, there is, any instructor in any position is going to have bias towards their students for a multitude of reasons. But I'm curious, from your knowledge or understanding, experience, et cetera, did you find that there was a bias towards that, good or bad? Because I could see it going both ways.
There was a respect for it, I'll say that. The cool thing about the 160th is, even when you're like going through assessment, it is very, very professional. Like it is, there's no yelling, there's no screaming. It's very much like,
you either make it or you
don't. Like this is who we are, like this is the standard, and you're either gonna meet it or you're not, right? So, but to be fair, I do feel like there was a mutual respect there because of my background. Yeah,
that probably helped.
I would assume so.
Yeah, or
nobody ever told me it did, but yes, I would assume so. Because even when I got to the unit, like
same kind of
dudes knew what it meant, which like, which is weird because in the regular Army, it wasn't like that. Like in flight school, nobody knew what a long tab meant really. So it was just, it was really weird.
Nobody really cared.
Nobody really gave a shit.
That's surprising.
Right? It felt weird, But
Yeah, because, what's strange with the Navy is the SEAL teams are such a out in left field aspect of it. I mean, for that matter, like our paychecks don't even come from the Navy. They come from SOCOM, So it's like, yes, we're in the Navy, we wear Navy uniforms and whatever, but that's about it, and my point is that like being in the Navy and wearing a trident and being on a Navy base where SEALs aren't stationed there, like everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
And like you can just see people staring at you and there's a lot of reverence, and I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing because I think it feeds people's egos probably in a bad way, but
true.
But it's very obvious, that there's, everybody knows what it is. It's surprising to hear that it wasn't that way. But
I was shocked too.
Yeah. All right, so once you make it through the assessment, how does it work? Like, okay, you made it through assessment, but is there still obviously there's a training pipeline, but is it a training pipeline / continued assessment also, or is it more like, okay, we know you're one of us now, we just need to get you where you need to be?
I would say it's the latter. It's more of the assessment is really like, so the good thing about, the cool thing about assessment is the application process does a really good job of screening out people that shouldn't be there already. So assessment is just a second layer of that, right? So once you go, so I was still stationed in Savannah, so I got to go back to my unit and basically fuck off for like 3 months, which was really nice. And then PCS to Campbell, which is where Green Platoon is. And for me, it was like 9 months. But same thing, man, it's super professional. Like it's very much not trying to weed you out. It's very much trying to train you. Yeah. So the mentality there is a lot different. Yeah.
That training pipeline, I can only imagine, is like almost impossible to describe in terms of how steep the learning curve is and the drinking from the fire hose type of environment. But was any part of it not that way? I mean, did you find like, wow, this is structured in a way where it's a lot of information, but they do a masterful job at actually bringing us up to speed, or was it just like getting hit in the face with a fire hose the whole time?
Dude, so different portions are different. So the first portion is OGP, Officer Green Platoon. That's where you're learning like the basic soft skills. So you're doing like land nav, shooting, rucking, combatives, things like that. So it was good for me because I was out of group for a while, so it was almost like a refresher. And the things that we're teaching were solid. So that portion was good. That portion was not very it wasn't overbearing because I already had the background. Yeah. But then the next portion is called BNAV, basic navigation, basic skills, whatever. This is the fire hose. So this is where you're learning how to take a paper map and get to that target plus or minus 30 seconds. The thing that they tested you on that nobody knew how the hell to do, This is where they're doing that. And I think you do like 9 or 10 missions total, something like that. And the first maybe 3 or 4 or through 4 probably, nobody's on time. Maybe you find your target, but you are not on time, even close if you do. But then by 9, or even probably 7, everybody's hitting their target plus or minus 30 seconds.
Wow.
And it's really cool to see because it's complicated. It's not like land nav on the ground, right? Because you have to account for winds in both directions, whether you're left or right of course, headwind, tailwind. You have to obviously identify all your ACPs and make sure you're hitting the right thing. And then even to the point of landing to the right HLZ, when you're 2 miles out, it's hard to tell which field is the right field. So every little nitty gritty detail, but it's cool to see the progression. Yeah. Because you do get there.
I mean, hearing you explain it reminds me a lot of combat swimmer for us. Because it's the same thing. You're taking a chart, which is a map of the water, whatever. But so it's like you're doing this map study or chart study on, let's say San Diego Bay, and it's like you have to memorize the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. I assume you guys do too, because you don't have it when you're flying.
You do full route recons. Yeah. You literally are looking for chicken coops that you identify. It's crazy.
Obviously, there's way less detail underwater, especially at night. But I think it even more so highlights having to memorize the few things that are there exactly where they are.
Yeah.
And so like you've got a swim buddy you can't communicate with, it's pitch fucking black. All you have is the ability to gauge your depth, count your kicks. You have a compass so you know what bearing you're on, and then you have a G-Shock chronograph function of how much time.
Okay.
So with all those inputs, you have the ability to say, okay, I know where I'm at in this chart based on all of those things.
Time, distance, heading, yeah, okay.
But just like with you guys in the wind, you have to account for currents and swell.
Oh, that's gotta be tough.
So like and you even have to build it in to where it's like, okay, I know if the first leg I'm doing a 176 bearing for 9 minutes, because I know I know what my pace is, and so I know 9 minutes is going to take me this distance, which is how far I want to go.
Yeah.
Okay, but the current is 0.4 knots from this direction, so you have to calculate.
Yep.
Okay, so instead of 176, I need a 170.
Yeah.
Because the current's going to be put.
Very similar.
Yeah, but then
Yep.
so again, it's pitch black, and let's say halfway through I run into something. Okay, well, obviously I'm not where I think, and I'm not where I should be, so I have to, recount that mental image of that map and say, okay, well, if I ran into a pier, which one is it? And so you have to memorize, like, well, if the pier is heading that direction, and it's like you have to almost like imagine what's under the water, and if you run into something, and then make correction, so it's.
And you don't have your map with you, do you?
No.
That makes it 10 times harder.
Yeah,
you
not only do you not have your map, you have to memorize all of the legs, right? So I have to say, okay, I'm going to do a 176 for 9 minutes, then I'm going to turn to 240 for 4 minutes, and sometimes, most times, those, there's half a dozen legs to hit the first target, and if you do like a dual ship attack, you may have to memorize, in the upwards of 20 different degree bearing directions, the exact bearing and for how long. And if you miss, like if I know, hey, I do a 175 until I hit this pier, let's say, and I should hit it, at 8 minutes or right around 8 minutes. Now we're at 10 minutes and we've hit nothing. So where the fuck are we?
Damn.
Like you just have to know. But it's also pitch black. And you can't talk to your buddy, So
that's nuts.
It is.
That sounds so difficult.
It is, but very similar to, it's like at first you're doing 120 in, 120 out, and it's like you're slowly building on that. And after a few weeks of doing that, you go from making 2 turns is kicking your ass to where you're doing a dual ship attack at night, nailing every single one of them.
It's pretty amazing seeing it all come together. Yeah.
I think it's a testament to the military's ability to train in a way where that's even possible, and that is a skill in and of itself. But all right, so you go through the land nav portion. What is after that?
Oh, and that's in a little bird too, by the way. And you're getting taught basically from there on in the pipeline. You're getting taught by like 160th legends who are out now. It's so cool, man. It's very humbling for sure. To learn about what these guys did and what missions they were part of and things like that. It's really cool. So next is the aircraft qual. So I was a 60 guy, so I was gonna stay in the 60, and that's where you're basically learning how to fly like a Night Stalker. Like they're teaching you. The best way to describe it is like go from the minor leagues to the major leagues. Learn all the technical things that we do. Learn all the SOPs. Learn all the how we integrate with the ground force, basically everything. There's a portion of that where you go out to Colorado, do mountains, and then you go out to Virginia Beach and do overwater stuff. So you get a little bit of everything in that. But same thing, it's super professionally run. It is very much crawl, walk, run, so that it's designed for you to pass. It's not designed for you to fail because you've already made it through that.
Yeah. How long is that portion?
That would have been, I think I'm going to butcher it, 5 months maybe, 4 or 5 months, something like that. Yeah. And then it culminates with a final check ride where I was going back to Savannah. So I was going to Charlie Company, 160th, or 3rd Battalion. And they send somebody up to give you your final check ride to basically sign you off and say, yeah, he's good or he needs a little more training.
Yeah. During that training pipeline, when you're in the different locations, and learning these skill sets, are they allowing or pairing you with actual special operations units to practice it, and like those guys know you're in training kind of thing, and they're just almost training dummies for you guys?
Not during the pipeline.
Yeah.
No, during the pipeline, there's no ground force. It's all just simulated stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens later though, obviously.
Yeah, so I guess after that, what's the next? Is that the next?
Yeah, so then you go down to the 160th. You go. I went to Charlie Company, like I said, 3rd Battalion, down back in Savannah. Funny story on that. We so after I assessed with SECO 1st Battalion, which is at Campbell, and after assessment, the assessment pilot basically, after assessment, he's like, "Hey, if you want to come back to work at SECO, let me know," because they were the DAP company. So
What is that?
Oh my gosh. Direct action penetrator. So it's the guns. The Blackhawks with the guns.
That sounds pretty kinky.
That sounds pretty nasty.
If we're being honest.
Yeah. So it's the Blackhawks with the guns. It's the gunship Blackhawks, which are like the sexy of the sexy, to be honest. They're pretty cool. So I had the opportunity to potentially go there. And I had reached out to him and I was like, yeah, I want to come back. So my dumbass, sold my house in Savannah, bought a house at Campbell just for the 9-month Green Platoon, and
Moved the family too?
moved the family. Because I was like, I was convinced I was going to SECO, to 1st Battalion. And a month before I PCS to Campbell to start training, I got an email saying, "Congrats, you're going to 3rd Battalion." And I was like, fuck. So I was that guy, but it ended up working out. We rented the house and all that stuff, but bought a new house when we went back to Savannah. So
During that portion, is it the same where you have these like legendary TF-160 guys instructing you?
Not when you get to the company. I mean, there's still like senior guys, you know, who have been there, done that.
So the phase before that, they're like retired and now
contracted. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're like contractors who were like, you know, around in Black Hawk Down, things like that. Like really in the heyday of 160th.
I mean, is it something where it's very apprenticeship like in that they're sharing real world stories, like from like debriefing, like, hey, I remember this time we were in Afghanistan and this happened and this is why I had you do what you do? Like, are they sharing?
Very much so. Very much so.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. And it was like, it's literally like dudes that could write the coolest book in the world, you know, and you're learning from them. And they take you under their wing. Like they're not there to kick your ass. They're there to refine you and make you the best aviator. Even to the point where like, if you fuck something up, like you just do it again, do it right? Or do it again until you get it right. And then you're going to go back and AAR it and figure out what the hell happened and how you can avoid that again. Like, that's kind of the approach they take. It's not like you're a piece of shit, you know, like you suck, you're not going to make it. Like, they're like, okay, let's figure out what went wrong and how can we fix it?
Yeah, man, what an amazing
It's a cool
experience.
mentality. Yeah.
All right, so you find yourself back in Savannah. What's the next part of that pipeline?
So then I'm a 160th pilot. It's called when you get there, you're a basic mission qualified pilot. So
is there a ceremony that's like a welcome to the club? Here's your patch.
No, but one cool thing was like, I didn't know how I was going to be received as a new guy, right? I was expecting, I don't know, hazing, something. And I get out of my car at the parking lot and I'm walking into the hangar and there's a guy walking towards me, boots unbloused, you know, no headgear, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm back, you know? Yeah. But I didn't know how he was going to respond, you know? I didn't know if he was just going to walk by me and be like, who the hell is this guy, you know? And I get closer and he's a Chief Warrant Officer 4, so pretty significant rank for a company guy. And when he reads my name tape, big smile on his face, and he just goes, CW2 O'Kelly, or actually I think he said my first name. I think he's like, Nick O'Kelly, we've been waiting for you. We're so glad to have you. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like, I'm the new guy, right? Like, so it was just totally different atmosphere, man. Like,
well, so if we can, I guess, condense the entire pipeline that you just talked about, all lots of positive experiences, memories, etc. Throughout that entire thing, are you still struggling with your...
The anxiety and dizzy spells, yes. But the depression and suicidal thoughts were there, but not scary, to be honest. They were fleeting when they happened. Yeah. But the dizzy spells were there the entire time. Like if I was in front of Every time I had to give a brief, I had to make sure, like tactically make sure I had a podium that I could hold my hands on, because like it was weird. It was like, it felt like, like the corner of a NASCAR track how it has that bank?
Yeah.
It almost felt like the world was like that. Like this room was like that, and like I just couldn't. The crazy thing is nobody ever knew, like nobody ever.
Did that ever happen while you were flying?
No.
That's
and that was the
amazing.
weirdest thing. And I think it was adrenaline.
Yeah.
That's the only thing
I mean,
I
were
think
you
of.
nervous to
Adrenaline
brief?
focus. Yeah, I was
Really?
definitely nervous to brief.
To me, that's
But
surprising. Like, given
it's because the 160th briefs are a different level.
Yeah.
Like it is Nat's ass to the T, and a lot of it is from learned experience. So when you start out giving your briefs, like you don't know shit. And yes, you have like a guideline of how to build a brief and everything, but like describing actions describing, even like how you're going to line up as a flight and things like that. Like there's just so much detail that you get your shit kicked in. That's actually where you get your shit kicked in, is the briefing and the AARs and the, hey, like, why the hell would you do this, So, yeah.
Wow.
So I was nervous. I wasn't, like, scared, but I was definitely, like, nervous because I knew I wasn't a pro at it,
I mean, it sounds like not just a stressful but super serious environment. Is there any joking in those, or is it, like, super straight-laced?
I'd say it depends on the type of, like, what the atmosphere is, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it's, like, obviously real world, you're not really joking around too much. But if it's, like, a check ride or something, then typically no, it's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Until after the flight. So, like, after you do the brief, after you do the flight and everything, you get back, you do the AAR, and that's kind of where...
Cutting up a little.
Yeah, where you kind of relax and...
Yeah.
You're still debriefing it and everything, but it's not like, it's more just lessons learned.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. So you're a full-fledged badge-carrying member of TF-160. Very warm reception. Walk us through like what it was like, boots on the ground in the early days there, and then your first deployment.
Yeah. So now you're at the point where you have to, again, prove yourself, right? You're a Night Stalker, but you're still a BMQ, a basic mission qualified, meaning you can't fly a real-world mission with ground force in the back without an FMQ, fully mission qualified. So there's like a progression. There's BMQ, FMQ, and then flight lead. Flight lead's the guy that is in charge of the mission, the overall mission. So now you're working towards FMQ. It's usually like a 2-ish. They usually give you about 2 years to make it. And for my first year was a bunch of training trips, like going to Colorado, going to Florida, going to Phoenix, LA, all these different places to do just training. Whether it was, mountain training, gunnery, learning how to do urban stuff, just kind of every different environment. Got a cool picture of flying right in front of the Hollywood sign with a minigun right underneath it.
Damn, that's cool.
I'll have to show you. Yeah, I have it. I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome. So doing things like that, training in different environments, and as a BMQ, so as a newer guy, we are in charge of planning, briefing, executing everything that's training related. So even just like the cross-country trip to getting to LA, like we're planning the entire route over there, we're briefing it, and we're getting just tons of reps of briefing and planning. So that was really the first year. The first year was a lot of that. And then I deployed for the first time to like the CENTCOM region. And that was cool, man. That was when I actually got to do the real thing that I finally wanted to do in the Army after 10 years at this point.
Well, so in this BMQ phase, at that stage, are you now working with actual forces and inserting them, but just in a training environment?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even in combat, you can be a BMQ and still fly in combat. Yeah, you just are not in charge of the helicopter.
Okay.
So you have to fly with a more senior pilot. But no, you're still,
Okay. And how many hours did you collect, I guess? Well, both, in 160th training pipeline and then in the first phase before you're actually deployed, like what does that break?
I was probably about 800, 850 around there.
When you deployed?
When I deployed, yeah. Actually, probably a little more, maybe 900 hours, something like that. Because I ended,
So you're getting almost another 500 once you show up at
basically.
TF before you actually deploy.
And it depends. Like some guys could get to the unit and deploy in the next 2 months. It just depends on the op tempo and when you're going. So it's not like a hard requirement or anything like that. It's basically once you get to the company and once you still have to go through like a small progression with the company to basically say you're good to go.
Yeah.
But that's short. That's like maybe a month long. And once you get through that, you're deployable.
Yeah.
Like you're a full-fledged Night Stalker. You're ready to go.
Yeah. Can you say how many active duty Night Stalker pilots the Army has?
I don't know, to be honest. Let's see. So,
I mean, could you ballpark it?
Yeah, I could ballpark it. We had 25 to 30 in our company, and there's 4 Black Hawk companies. Probably 100 Black Hawk pilots in the Army-ish.
That are 160 pilots.
They're all, so Black Hawk 160 pilots, and probably similar to 47s, and Little Birds are a little smaller. So maybe, I would say maybe...
So a few hundred.
I might be way off. 400, let's say. 400 or 500, something like that.
I mean, that's still such an elite group.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're like shy of either of the tier 1 units. I mean, they're I guess even a little smaller than that. But man, what a fraternity of fucking badasses to be in. You know, especially
awesome.
if you say a guy who was a special operator and a TF, there's like 2 of those dudes.
Not many. Yeah, I think there were 4 in my whole battalion, something like that.
Man.
That were SF guys.
All former SF guys,
Yeah.
not Rangers or.
There's a lot more Rangers.
Oh, really?
A lot of Ranger qualified or Ranger battalion guys in the 160th. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But fewer SF guys for sure.
The obvious question, or maybe the obvious assumed answer would be yes, but did your time as a Green Beret, even though maybe you didn't do 9 combat deployments,
right?
But still, going through that whole pipeline, doing, years of doing that, did that play a huge role, like as big as one would assume, in understanding what the guys who you're carting around at this point are going through? And is that as helpful as you would think it would be?
Yeah. 100%. There were so many times where, because a lot of times in the 160th, like the new guys don't really understand the ground forces mission or what they're trying to do. It's the flight leads, who really understand like the ground force and what they need because they've been there forever. So that helped me to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. Not saying like I wasn't even close to a flight lead, but helped me accelerate that to not feel like I was a new guy that had no idea what these ground forces do. So big time. Big time.
And I imagine, I guess I would ask first is, do the units you're working with, do they even know that about you as a pilot? Probably not, right? Most of the time?
No, unless I knew one of them from my prior days.
Did you run into any guys?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that had to be surreal.
Happened on my deployment.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
And they had no idea you'd gone that route?
Nope, and I had no idea they went that route. Wow. It was so cool. Got to fly them around, it was awesome.
Yeah. How many deployments as a TF-160 pilot did you do?
So I only did that one. Because, so it was a COVID deployment though. So it's supposed to be, we do short deployments. So we do 30, 60, 90 days. And it was supposed to be a 60-day, and COVID happened in the middle of it. So it shut down the world, shut down all the air, and it ended up being like 4 months. So it was a 120.
Yeah.
So, but then after that, about almost a year after that, I got grounded for knee surgery. And that's kind of where everything happened after that, diagnosis wise. But
before we get into that, which from my understanding, a lot of the book is kind of centered around.
Yeah.
That combat deployment, what was it like, the very first legitimate combat mission that you're on the stick, flying dudes around in a combat environment? Like, walk us through the headspace you're in.
Yeah, surreal. So,
all right, folks, some breaking news right off the top. Beam's cyber sale is now open for early access for my listeners, and it's their best offer of the year. Right now, my listeners get up to 50% off with my code MikeDrop, all caps, all one word. And you can grab Dream for just $32.50. That breaks down to only $1.08 per night. For the best sleep of your life, go to shopbeam.com/MikeDrop and use my code MikeDrop. And don't miss out. This is the lowest price Dream has ever been sold anywhere, and they will likely sell out quickly. Now, if you've listened to this show for a while, you've heard me talk about Beam. They're an American company founded by people who actually believe in hard work, clean products, and personal responsibility. And unlike the junk pushed by Big Pharma, Beam's Dream Powder is clean. There's no fillers, absolutely no synthetic garbage. Dream is packed with ingredients your body actually needs to sleep. It comes packed with reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and yes, even melatonin. But dosed intelligently, not like the drugstore garbage that knocks you out and leaves you groggy. So now's the time. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount. Go to shopbeam.com/micdrop and use the code MicDrop, all caps, all one word, and get up to 50% off during Beam's cyber sale. You can grab Dream for just $32.50. But here's the catch. Dream is only available at this price until it sells out. So seriously, think about it. How much would you pay for a truly great night of sleep? With Beam's cyber price, it's just $1.08 per night. Go to shopbeam.com/micdrop and try Beam today.
It's one of those things that the world around you kind of stops. Like you get so focused on what you have to do that you're able to like black everything out. And so I was flying with, my co-pilot was the senior guy. I was a junior pilot, but how we were landing required me to be on the flight controls, which was a blessing for me. So I got to fly it. So the last, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or something, that's when it's like craziness. Like radios are going nuts, everything's going nuts. Everybody's talking to everybody, stepping on everybody, and you just kind of have to block that out, especially if you're on the flight controls. That's basically his job to manage the cockpit and my job to fly. And it was, he literally had to like pull my radio pins because they were going so crazy and be like, just, you only need one radio right now. You don't need 5 going off in your ear. So we're going in and, given the 6-minute call, you know, like you see in the movies, 6 minutes, you know, that kind of stuff. And as it gets closer, start to see the LZ, and we're going in our final approach. And I don't know what happened, but the last, 30 seconds, whatever. You start your approach typically like a minute out-ish, depending on what type of approach. But the last 30 seconds, the flight lead makes a pretty abrupt turn, and not as planned. We were just kind of like, oh shit, like I don't remember what happened. It was a contingency of some sort. But at the last minute, I had to, like, we're basically a flight of 4 just going, you know, at a sharp turn as we're making our approach, so as we're landing. So we're coming in for the landing, and it was going to be dusty, which if you're not familiar, like dust landings in a helicopter are pretty freaking dangerous. Like it's, so it was already going to be a little sketchy, if you will. And we're coming in a lot hotter than we were supposed to. And we come down and we hit the ground, and we actually had a little like forward roll, which is frowned upon in the dust for sure, because if you hit, you know, any bumps or whatever, anything that you didn't see in the dust, like you don't know where you're gonna hit. So, but everybody landed safely. It was like one of those surreal moments that once the ground force offloaded and everything, you're kind of just like, fuck yeah, like
we did
that shit just happened, you know? So it's like a flurry of like adrenaline and fast stuff. But then once you touch down, it's just kind of like, holy shit, wow, that just fucking happened and executed. And yeah, there was a little contingency, but like still, you know, as planned and as briefed.
Leading up to it, like as you're doing all of your pre-flight checks and all that stuff, were you nervous?
Not really. No, I was actually more excited because I was, dude, I had been in the Army for so long, and I had never done a combat, like a real combat mission other than the regular Army Afghanistan stuff. So I was like, finally, dude, like I think I was in the Army 10 years. Yeah, I was in 10 years at that point, trying to, you know, in special operations for a lot of it. And like, finally I was like, I'm getting mine. Like took that long. So no, I was excited.
Are there any missions that you flew on during that deployment that you can kind of share, you know, either hot inserts or extracts, or, you know, taking fire, any of these contingencies? Like, were there any hairy missions?
There was one that was hairy. It was, I can't get into too much detail, but what I can say is like we ran into some weather contingencies, and we had to make some on the spot, pretty tactical decisions that worked out, but could have been sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about the extent that I can say on that one, though.
I mean, were there operations where you're flying in where you guys are taking heavy fire?
We actually didn't. It was we were going after, I would say, MVTs, medium value targets. So it was
HAVTs, half-ass value targets.
So it was kind of like trying to find targets. Like, we were still busy and we were still doing a lot, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Now we never got shot out on infill or anything like that, which the crew chiefs were pissed at because they want to get it too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's their main gig, right?
Yeah, run those miniguns.
Yeah. As you go through that deployment, are you still experiencing any of the same issues with the dizziness or any suicidal thoughts? Are they coming back at all, or how is that?
So the dizziness was still there. I would
but not flying.
Not flying, no. I would go on night runs with my senior pilot, my FMQ, and there was like this narrow trail around the airfield or whatever, and we'd have to run with headlamps. And dude, those were the most miserable runs in the world, because literally that NASCAR bank angle, like, that was real. While I was trying to run straight, have a headlamp on, it's bouncing around, I'm freaking dizzy as hell, trying to not let him figure it out, and trying to have a conversation. So it
reminds me of the "Have you had your V8" commercial, like where the dudes
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like. It was just so like,
but no suicidal stuff.
Not really. No, like
in terms of depression or like any of the other effects that you experienced years before, was any of that still present?
Not as much.
Yeah.
No, it was still there because of the dizzy spells, because I still knew that something was going on, so I still had the back of my head like, the fuck's wrong with me type of mentality.
And from subsequent years and examinations, tests, etc., you came to the medical conclusion that was all just stress related. Like there's not an actual physiological issue with your inner ear or anything like that?
So the Army never found anything like that. I did blood work after I got out, and like, I don't know if this was a contributor, but my blood work was all jacked up. Like, testosterone was at like 250 or something, like super low, and a bunch of other factors like that. My sleep was shit. So I definitely think there was more to it than what the Army actually found out.
Yeah. Have you, I guess, examined, or from an introspection standpoint, considered that the biggest contributing factor to the suicidal thoughts, on top of the stress and the kind of environmental factors that you were experiencing, but the almost feeling like a lack of purpose compared to what you were used to? Because we were talking, I think, before we started, or maybe even early on, I don't remember if we were recording or not, but talking about talking about faith. Is that, when I look at the 250 plus guys that have sat in this chair or been on the show, the common thread between all of them, to my quick reference knowledge, is that one thing, is a lack of purpose and not understanding where they fit in life at that time is by far the most common denominator in PTSD and suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, dude, that actually, ironically, I'd never really thought about that to that extent, but yes, because it happened after I left Special Forces. I felt super fulfilled, super purposeful when I was in group, and then I went to the regular Army, went to Fort Rucker for flight school, and I was kind of like, what the hell did I do? Why did I make this decision? Because I was not happy with the environment there. And so, dude, that's a really, I definitely think that had an impact on it.
I mean,
sure.
Again, it's just pattern recognition.
And that also explains why it started to get better when I got to the 160th.
Yeah.
Because I found that sense of purpose again.
Yeah, I think, the military, generally speaking, there's so many examples of, take the human experience of people experiencing super traumatic things, not just obviously exclusive to the military. There's, every walk of life, people experience trauma that if it manifests, can contribute to that significantly. But The things that people go through in the military, I don't think it's fair to say this is more traumatic than the EMT or the woman on a college campus that's raped. Like, they're all horrible.
Right.
Where I think it's magnified within the military is being a professional soldier, and especially a special operator, is so intertwined with an identity that's at a really high level. There's a ton of reverence and respect and recognition associated with that identity that's inescapable from doing that for a living. And especially when you spend, the formative years of a young man's life feeling that way. Like, I am part of a warrior culture, an elite brotherhood of this band of brothers, and then like a light switch, it goes away. Like, that is the single biggest negative impact that I've seen on all the interviews that I've conducted, of having the biggest impact on our guys' mental health.
Yeah, what's interesting is I never put the two and two together, that, like, because it usually happens when guys transition, right? Like, they leave and this was their life, this was their identity. I never really put it into words that it was a transition for me to aviation. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So it was almost the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Just in a different, I was still in the Army. So
yeah.
So I was, that's interesting.
Yeah. So with that, you finish that deployment, all goes without a hitch, basically.
Yeah, it was pretty low drama, other than the COVID aspect that we just got extended.
Yeah. So when you came home, did you have your surgery issues or knee problems then, or did they manifest after that? Or kind of walk us through from coming back from deployment until you get grounded.
Yeah, so it started after that deployment. I started, and I was progressing really well towards FMQ. I had my FMQ ride scheduled for April the next year, and I ended up, I was always a big runner. I loved running. That was like kind of my zen. Even despite all these dizzy spells, I would force myself to run and be like, whatever, if I fall over in the middle of the street, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So I was running, and it got to the point where I just could not run more than half a mile without it just feeling like nails in my knee. So I went and talked to the physical therapist, told him what's going on. We did x-rays and MRIs, and they found a hole in my knee that had been bored out, basically bone on bone. And I had to get what's called Oates surgery. I'm going to butcher the acronym, but it's basically where they make a plug out of a non-weight bearing portion of your knee and plug it. So it has to fuse back to your knee and do all that. So pretty significant surgery. Even my physical therapist was like, we'll see how the recovery goes. Some people don't recover, some people need a follow-up. But it was a 9-month process. So it was a 9-month recovery process. And the frustrating thing was, this happened in February 2021, and my FMQ ride was scheduled for April 2021. And I talked to a lot of the senior warrant officers and told them what's going on. I'm like, I want to make FMQ, I do not want to go on a downslip and then go back in the progression afterwards. But all their advice was like, hey, we would rather have you take care of this now, get back up and get FMQ, and then be able to continue flying, instead of making it, then going on a downslip for 9 months and kind of losing your momentum. So I took their advice, which I'm glad I did. But during that knee surgery, my wife basically was like, you need to go fucking talk to somebody about this dizziness. You're already grounded. The consequences of not being able to fly, which is the reason I didn't talk to anybody for all this time, are gone. So go do it. And I did. So I talked to the flight surgeon, and I sugarcoated the shit out of it. I was like, this is not, I didn't tell her any of my history of mental health, because I didn't want that can of worms open, So I said, I'm having these dizzy spells. This shit happened in Afghanistan where I had these, this vertigo sensation. I think it's my ears, whatever. So we do ear ENT appointments. Everything comes back fine. And she sends me to a neurologist, try to rule that out. Everything's fine. And then I go get a sleep study, because I was exhausted every day. Driving home from work at 4 p.m. I don't know how I got home half the days, just because of these dizzy spells. It was just so taxing on my body.
How many times a day was it happening?
It was
every day?
constant.
Wow.
It was throughout the day. Like, it wasn't just like sometimes it would be like a instant like vertigo thing where I literally felt like my head was gonna fall and hit the table, but nobody noticed. That's what's so weird. Like,
that's kind of
in
alarming.
all those years, it was scary. It was scary.
I mean, to me, it's equally alarming that nobody noticed. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, what else aren't you guys noticing?
I know.
You got
I know.
a new pilot that's fucking tripping over himself constantly,
Yeah.
and you're not picking up on it. It's
Yeah.
kind of frightening. But
I never like the only time I ever fell over was that time in Afghanistan. Other than that, I was able to like basically tunnel vision my way through it and mask it.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting. But there were like I said, some instant moments of like head over heels, like what the fuck just happened type of thing.
did those dizzy spells ever happen like in the middle of the night? Like you woke up from being dizzy?
Not that I remember.
Yeah.
No.
All right, sorry. So you're going through this process. Everything's coming back normal.
Yeah, everything's coming back normal. So I do a sleep study, and I do it with like a civilian doctor in Savannah. So go get hooked up to the fucking matrix and all that shit. And sleep study, I did the night one and then the day one. So it's like you have to take 5 naps throughout the next day or whatever. And the results come back, and they say you have narcolepsy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I've been flying helicopters for the last, 6 years. There's no way I have
crazy.
narcolepsy. So, but like in my brain, I justified these dizzy spells being these like micro naps, right? Like I was falling asleep and waking myself up, and that's explaining all my dizziness. So I almost was like relieved that I got a diagnosis, as weird as that sounds.
No, that makes sense.
But it gave me first of all, it gave me permission to not have to expose my mental health shit to anybody, right? So I was like, sweet, like I don't have to go down that road. It's this, I'm good. Like I can't really do anything about this. This isn't my fault, right? So those were kind of like my thoughts going through my head. So my flight doc sends the results to Fort Rucker. Fort Rucker sends me a permanent down slip. So basically saying you can never fly an Army helicopter again. Your flight pay is revoked. Whatever, you're fucking done. So I'm like, sweet. So what the hell do I do now? So flight doc's like, well, you can either reclass to something or we can put you in for a med board. And I'm like, no, dude, I do not want to do anything else. Like, let's get out of the Army. Let's be done with this. So we put in the med board. It goes to the medical system, whatever. They deny it because the narcolepsy diagnosis was not approved or was not done at an Army sleep center. So they don't recognize a narcolepsy diagnosis unless it's done by the Army, and you wear this watch that basically tracks your sleep the 2 weeks prior.
Couldn't you get your flight status re-invoked then, or reinstated?
So I thought so, but they still wanted to do follow-up tests before like doing that, right? So it's still kind of in this purgatory mode. So I do the Army flight test, or sleep study, sorry. Do the Army sleep study, and they come back and say you have no diagnosable criteria for narcolepsy, so you don't fucking have it. So like, what the fuck, dude? So my flight doc's like, all right, like let's get a third opinion, I guess. I don't really know what else to do. So we do, and they say I don't have it too. So now I'm on a permanent downslip, but I can't
and that can't
get
be
out of the Army
reinstated based on that?
So it could have been, but it would have been such a process that once we got to this point, they had put me on I was talking to a psychologist. I kind of missed that part, but the flight doc was like, let's get you talking to a psychologist, human performance optimization type thing, and once I got that permanent downslip, that gave me permission to tell her my history. Like I was like, fuck it. Gloves are off. I'm telling you everything. Told her my suicidal history and all that shit. And so she was basically waiting for everything physiological to get ruled out before she went down like the mental health diagnosis route, right? Yeah. She was in my corner. She was awesome, and I told her, I was like, I do not want a mental health diagnosis. Like I want this to be something else first. Like let's rule everything else first because of the stigma, with mental health. I didn't want that shit associated with me. So anyways, I get on, we do the cocktail of anti-anxiety meds. Most of them, I think I went through like 6 before landing on Effexor, which actually helped, man. It cleared up 90% of these dizzy spells. And like now they were very situational. So if I was at a stadium, you know, a sporting event or like a pumpkin patch or something with a lot of people, like the normal symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, all that shit.
Is that drug like an SSRI or what is it?
It's an SSNI. I don't remember what the N stands for, but it's like, I don't know, somebody out there will know. But same concept.
Right.
Yeah, same concept. And it allowed me to tell her like when these were happening instead of just being like, my life's a whirlwind, you know? So she went to the book and read the symptoms of panic disorder. And to my, like, as much as I didn't want to hear it, I was like, fuck, like that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. You just nailed every symptom I've been experiencing for the last 3 years.
Are there any that you haven't mentioned that were in that diagnosis?
I'd have to look back.
But it was basically
You mean symptoms-wise?
Yeah, like everything that you've mentioned were what she was writing down.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, well, a lot of it was like the situational based stuff, right? So it was hard to pinpoint before because it was happening all the time.
Yeah.
So once it became situational, then it was like, okay, like, yes, it's happening in this situation. This is why it's happening.
Yeah.
Like basically my body was in flight or flight mode, in survival mode during those moments.
Yeah.
So that's what was triggering it.
So what do they do to try to counteract that?
So she basically told me, she's like, here's your options. We can put you on, keep you on a downslip for the next basically 6 months to a year while we're assessing this. And at this point I'd been grounded for a year and a half. Or we can put in a med board and get you out of the Army. And I was just toast. I was at my limit. I was like, I just want to get out. Like, I just want to be done.
And for that period, it sounds like it was kind of also at the height of the COVID crap where, like, were you work-wise doing anything in that year and a half?
I still was, because the 160th is amazing, man. The command was amazing. Them and myself still had the mentality that I was going to get back up as a pilot and get back in the cockpit and in the fight. So they treated me like that. Even though I wasn't flying, I was still planning and briefing missions and helping in the planning cell. And I even went to like the aviation safety officer course at Fort Rucker. So they were still sending me to advanced schools and things like that. So
that's cool.
So we were still, I would say we were still operational. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So then what?
Yeah. Then I kind of had to figure out what the hell I was going to do with my life, you know, because I had never had to think about that before. So
so they did authorize a med board now. And
so we started the med board process. So it was still like almost a year to go through the med board process, probably 9 months. And I'm pretty fortunate that I was one of those guys in the unit that always was like a finance nerd. Like I just always loved personal finance, man. I don't know where it came from, but like I found Dave Ramsey's books like 10 years ago and just loved it. So I was like a closet finance nerd. So that was like
plot thickens.
Yeah. So I was always the dude like, this is what you need to do with your TSP, you know, this is what type of life insurance you need, all that stupid not stupid, but nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
So I started getting my certified financial planner designation and all that stuff basically the last year in the Army, so that when I got out I could hit the ground running.
Really?
Yeah. So now got out and now I own a wealth management firm in Charlotte.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so during the med board process, and obviously a lot of huge unexpected life pivots.
Yeah.
I assume you're staying on that medication this entire time, and is it continuing to help to a degree with which you're not reverting back to the suicidal thoughts and the constant dizziness?
It was.
Yeah.
And I stayed on it for a long time, actually. And I'm a huge advocate of taking medication if it's necessary, not if you're not willing to put in the work and like get off it, right? Like if it's something that's needed, then yes. Because in my situation, it was the Band-Aid that I needed. It was like it gave me the space to actually like see what the hell was going on and get out of my own storm. But I worked really hard the last couple years to get off it and to be fully off it that way. And it was scary, to be honest.
Did they put you on anything else, or was it just that?
It was That and something called hydroxyzine, which was like a as-needed anxiety med.
Is that like a lithium kind of thing?
I don't even know. Yeah. I don't even know. I think I actually think it's used for like dizziness as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
In that process of getting off all that stuff and whatever, did you go down the ibogaine and psilocybin and all that kind of stuff? Right?
Not yet. Not yet. I am currently on every waiting list out there. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm in the pursuit of it, especially if I'm going to be talking about this stuff publicly. I want to be able to, be educated and have my own experience of it.
So, I mean, how did you get off of it then? Like, did you research a strategy? Did you develop your own timeline? How to
So I'm a board member of a nonprofit called the ARC Health Foundation, and the CEO is a former Night Stalker as well. And essentially what it is we're trying to create a stigma-free environment where soldiers can go get treatment via cold plunge, IR sonotherapy, all the modalities that like Huberman talks about, so very natural and things like that. So I went through that program, the pilot program with that, and as I was tapering off the meds. So it was kind of like let's do this to accelerate your mental state, and your awareness and everything while you're tapering off. And it was a pretty smooth transition. It took a long time because you have to that medication can really fuck you up if you stop cold turkey. Yeah. So it was slow, but
I assume that, I mean, if it structurally or it works similarly to an SSRI, that from my understanding is that to quit cold turkey, it's similar to opioids in that you now have this vacuum of dopamine and serotonin, and it's enormously depressing to just stop it, and it fucks you all up.
Yep. I went one time I missed it and forgot it, and dude, the headaches were insane. I've had headaches before, but these were zapping my brains. It was nuts. So it's powerful.
So how long did it take you to taper off of them?
I did it over a 3-month period.
3 months.
Yeah. So basically every 2 weeks I would go down half a pill or whatever it was, half a dose.
During that time, obviously there's an ambiguity of, am I going to resort back to this? Did you have any times during the tapering off or once you were completely off of it where it's come back or worsened or any type of relapses that way?
I didn't. I was scared that would happen. But one of the coolest things that I've learned, since I spoke up about all this shit, right? Since I got the balls to actually say, this is what happened to me, that's been freeing.
Yeah.
I honestly think that has helped me from getting back in that trap, because now I'm not trying to suppress it and hide it, and now I'm just kind of aware of it, and it's okay, know?
Yeah.
So that's been helpful.
Yeah. So Stigma being a pretty obvious name for the book.
Yeah.
To me, how do you reconcile and or recommend or even navigate, because the stigma associated with mental health issues, depression, suicidal thoughts, PTSD, trauma responses within not just military or special operations, but again, cops, first responders, people who are in dangerous jobs where your life is quite literally on the line day in, day out. It's understandable, both the stigma behind bringing it up, the hesitation in bringing it up, but to be fair, it's also understandable on the leadership side. If you have pilots or guys who are saying, hey, I feel like killing myself, it's probably shouldn't be getting behind the stick then either, so what do you think, and how in depth do you get in Stigma to try to find that kind of happy medium of making it okay and accessible and not career ending to bring something like that, but also be cognizant of and sensitive to the fact that leadership still has to try to mitigate risk to the best of their ability by not allowing that to just run wild?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's the hardest stigma to address, is the the career one, right, and the reputation one, and security clearance, things like that. Like that's the one that actually will potentially have consequences if you speak up. But at the same time, what's the alternative of not speaking up? That's really how I'm phrasing it, is like, if you don't speak up, like I didn't for freaking 6 years, whatever, like I'm lucky I didn't do any of that shit. You know, I'm lucky I like had goalposts that kept me alive and kept me like looking towards something. But if you're not, and if you're falling into that trap, like your life is 100% more important than any of that bullshit, any of your career, you know what I mean? So like, that's kind of, I know that's like, so that's a tough one. That's a tough one to address.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, it's like, I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's impossible to ignore the fact that, or the reality rather, that, you know, no different than you, I mean, or especially you, when you spend 10 years of the prime of your life trying to accomplish something and you're not there yet. Yeah. Like, it's very difficult to talk yourself into this is more important when I'm tough. I can power through. I if I say anything, it's done.
Right.
To me, like, we collectively have to figure out a way to not just destigmatize it, but, or I think the only way to destigmatize it is to figure out a protocol that says if you bring it up, it's not a guarantee that your career is over.
Right.
I don't know how to accomplish that.
Or like, hey, like if you need 3 months to take a break, whatever. Like in the grand scheme of a 20-year career, you know, like what's 3 months or 6 months, whatever. But like at the same time, like people are going to talk shit on that, right? There's going to be people, other pilots in the unit being like,
fuck that guy.
This guy's not pulling his weight, you know, now we got to step up. This is bullshit. So like that's the core issue, right? Is like we have to somehow attack that and get rid of that attitude.
I mean, to me, I think the only hope in doing that, because I understand that perspective too. You know, it's like, well,
I do too.
Like, not even just, oh, you took 3 months off, shit bird. It's, you know, this dude was thinking about killing himself. I don't want to fly with him. You know,
for sure.
I get that. You know,
sure.
To me, in thinking through it while we're talking about it, the first and really only thing that comes to mind is a mechanism where, hey, it's not a career ender. We can and will allow you to come back if, hey, for a certain period of time, you can prove that there's no symptoms, or there's a series of gates that or boxes that you have to be able to check to get back on flight status. And then it's like a trial run where you can't run the show, like you get, you know, like you can kind of earn your way back.
Yeah.
Because to me that does two things. One is I don't think it's a guarantee that it's going to make guys say because even that's a pain in the ass that you're probably not going to want to deal with.
That's a roadblock,
but it's at least still a way to not have your career be ended. But what it also does is it allows you an ability to earn that spot back and earn the respect and trust of former pilots. Maybe not all of them, you know, or even special operators. I mean, there's probably still going to be some old school guys or guys who have never struggled with any of that are just going to be like, dude, I don't care how many tests you pass. I don't, you know, like they're just not going to give you that. And that's a reality that I think you have to face. But I think as a starting point, like something like that would be my best guess. Do you have any coloring on it?
Yeah, that. And then what I really would like to see, what I think would be really beneficial is our first line solution right now in the military is to hand somebody meds. And that's actually what's getting them grounded, right? Is them going on meds, a mind-altering medication that's requiring more medical tests and is going to screw up your brain chemistry. So if we can figure out a way to do those natural modalities and implement those, like that's gonna potentially prevent people from even having to go on a long-term downslip. You know, like, hey, let's get you in this protocol that lasts 3 weeks and reassess after that. Like that's so much easier to get somebody back in the cockpit that way. And I'm not like a scientist, so I don't know if that's like, you know, viable in 3 weeks, but I do think like then they're not relying on the medication long-term too, and they have solutions that they can actually use in their day-to-day. So I think that's probably the best solution to deal with that.
I think the big hurdle still with that is the other guys, you know, that you're going back to, and how do you, because you can't make those guys trust you. or, you know, from a peer evaluation standpoint, have a certain level of opinion of you, you know. I don't know how you fix that.
Yeah, I don't either. And you know what's ironic though is I thought that was one of my biggest hesitations for speaking up. Well, among the million, right? But I really thought when I talked about it, like I was gonna get ostracized and people were gonna be like, "Fuck this guy," like, you know what I mean? But it was the opposite, man.
Yeah,
like I had so many people in the unit, flight leads included, reach out to me and be like, "Dude, I'm sorry, I didn't know." Like, props for you for fucking speaking up.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
So granted, I was out of the military at this point, you know, so
they're not having to.
So it's a little easier for me to talk about. I will give it that, right?
And probably also, to be fair or realistic, it's easier for them to give you credit when they know you're not going to be sitting next to them in a cockpit too, you know?
For sure.
And not to take anything away from those guys being receptive. But
no, you're right. And at the same time, like, I think about it and like, it's kind of scary, like how many pilots could be out there right now doing the same thing I was doing, you know, or people in general, just because they don't want to speak up about it. You
know. What else can you tell us about the book Stigma that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, so the big stigma is the number one stigma is that mental health is weakness. Like, that's bullshit. It's not something that I had this opinion before I dealt with it, right? That if you're going through a mental health struggle, if you're depressed, you're suicidal, whatever, then you're choosing to have a victim mentality and it's your choice just to get out of it. Like, and that's actually the lie that I told myself even when it was happening to me. Like, I was so freaking hard on myself, like I said. And if somebody can go through SFAS and go through 160th assessment while freaking dealing with all this shit, like, I'm not a weak person. You know what I mean? I've proven that I'm not a weak person. And there's multiple examples of that. There's plenty of tier 1 operators that have come on here and said, I went through this shit, right? I was depressed. I was suicidal. Those are not weak men, you know? So that's the number one. Like, doesn't make you a weak person. Sure, it might be a moment of weakness, but you are not a weak person because you're dealing with it.
I think you could even take it a step further and argue that addressing it is harder than ignoring it.
Yes.
You know, so
it was the most courageous thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Actually speak up about it.
Yeah, because you know what the potential consequences are, and it's. I mean, to me, it's like being in a shitty relationship that you don't want to get out of because you don't want to deal with the confrontation. Like, it's easier to kick the can and
just deal with it,
and just continue to be miserable or whatever. It's way harder to face it. You know. What do you say to the hardcore skeptic, though, that still says, bullshit, it is weakness, you're a total pussy, like, I don't ever want to work with you? I mean, can you rationalize?
Well, all I'll say is that their definition of strength is fucked up.
Yeah.
Is wrong. You know, that's all I'll say on that is...
Or maybe just different.
Or different. Yeah, different. Touche. Different, because I'm not the one that defines strength, so... Yeah, my worldview is different than their worldview. That's go with that.
Any other secondary or tertiary things from that?
Yeah, so you're not a burden if you speak up. Actually, that was one big thing that like I had to overcome was I'm not actually burdening. Yes, somebody had to step up for me if I was going to go on a downslip, but the alternative was me flying and being suicidal, right? Like that was kind of, so a lot of these stigmas are, what's the alternative, right? Why do we believe the stigma, and what's the alternative that's better than believing the stigma? And that's the one right there. Especially like I thought I'd be a burden on my family. I thought I would be a burden on my wife if I had to, you know, who knows if I got out of the Army and didn't have a job, I don't know. There's all these things. So, but what actually happened is I was more of a burden while I was going through it because I was an emotional wreck, dude. I was an absent dad. You know, I was a shitty husband. I was so distant from my wife. Like, she would tell me all the time, like, you're different. What's going on? You're distant. Like, you're not the same person you were when we got married, you know? And not like in a fuck you type of way, like more in a what, are you okay type of way. But I took it as like a, leave me alone, I'm fine, you know? Yeah. So
I'm curious, throughout that entire process, did that impact or negatively affect your sex drive at all? Like, did that change?
Yeah, especially, well, yes, for sure, it did. And we we had a lot of marital issues during that time period. I mean,
Because of that?
because of my shit and because of that.
Yeah.
Yes. And there was a lot of resentment going on underneath the surface, you know?
On her end or your
No,
end?
both, I think. I think both. I think it was her end of like, why the hell is he separating himself and isolating himself? My end on like, why is she being negative about this? Why is she being negative about this? You know, and I would blame all my shit on her because of that. So it was a lot of that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of playing the blame game and not taking responsibility for my actions, frankly.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah.
I'm assuming you guys are still married and you
Yeah,
got through all of it.
we made it through,
Yeah,
man. We made
yeah.
it through the
Yeah.
brimstone and fire.
Yeah. Things are all good now.
We're good
Yeah,
now. We
yeah.
love each other. We loved each other then. It was just,
Yeah.
you know, we had to figure shit out and,
Yeah.
and go through it.
That's got to be relieving to be able to look back together and not laugh at it, but realize that you made it through that and you're on the backside of
Yeah,
that for sure.
we call it the dark ages. She's actually writing she wrote a chapter in the book.
Oh, wow.
So from her perspective,
Yeah, that's amazing.
because what we realize is like when somebody's going through this, when I was going through this, like the person at home is going to notice it first before anybody else. So I wanted to add that perspective for spouses.
Yeah. Is she still active duty or does she
No,
still...
she actually got out before I got to the 160th.
Oh, okay.
So while I was still in,
Still in the medical field?
she got out before I went to Afghanistan, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now she was a signal officer. So she was a comms officer.
Oh, okay. Why did I think, did you say something about medical?
She's a personal trainer now.
Oh, okay.
So she does.
But I mean,
personal training.
early on in the Army, was she a medic or no?
My sister. My
your
sister was a
sister.
medic.
That's
Yeah.
Maybe I'm on drugs right now. That's what's
No,
happening.
it's a lot.
Okay, so she was a signals officer, and then now she's a personal trainer. You said?
Yeah.
I guess going back to the book, is there anything else in there that you want to mention to kind of talk about what's in it?
Yeah. Just the whole mission behind it is to avoid. It's an AAR on what I went through, right? It's to avoid another person from dealing with this shit for 6 years and nipping it in the bud right when it happens, and just being able to own it right away. You know, because we're losing too many people right now in that journey to trying to get better. You know, like there's too many that are not lasting the 6 years that I did, and dropping off at the 2 year mark. You know what I mean? And making that decision. So that's the goal with it, is that to make it okay to talk about right away and realize, there might be some consequences, but the alternative's way fucking worse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think anytime you're faced with a lesser of two evils decision, that by itself is depressing. You know, it's
tough.
like neither of these are good. It's
Yeah.
just one sucks a little less than the other. You know,
And the scary thing, especially in the military context, is like there's so much unknown, right? The civilian world is scary when you're in the military. Like you have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
So there's that adds some more pressure to it.
during your tapering off and kind of hitting the full reset button between being med boarded out and kind of just getting back to the basics, if you will, you talked a little bit about Huberman. Were there non-medical protocols like that? Because I know you haven't done the psilocybin or psychedelic route. Was there a morning routine, a sunlight, a salt water, a cold plunge, sauna? Like, did you get in heavy into a routine that way that you found helpful?
Yeah. So I cold plunge every day. Well, except for when I'm traveling. But that's the first thing I do when I wake up. Literally, I jump out of bed and I make myself go get in the cold plunge.
Yeah.
It's
That's amazing. I do the exact same thing.
Do you?
Yeah.
I used to think people were crazy, but now after, the first 30 seconds are shitty, but then after that, it's the best way to wake up in the morning, in my opinion. You just feel refreshed.
I even do it regularly before bed.
Do you?
Yeah, which I kind of assumed that it would actually keep me awake.
Yeah.
It does the exact opposite, because your body naturally cools at night. So it gives you a jump start. I find that it's actually easier to fall asleep. Now I won't do it right before I go to bed, but an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before.
I'm gonna have to try that.
I would recommend. I don't know how long you do it in the morning.
6 minutes is usually my go-to.
I wouldn't probably do 6 minutes.
Okay.
What temperature do you do it at?
Right now it's at 62. I know that's not cold plunge, but I've been doing the old school pouring ice in it, and I just bought a chiller because I was I can't do this forever. So
I had a redwood, like a barrel. It's made out of like it looks like a barrel basically that you sit in. It has a chiller, or it had one. I mean, I don't have that one anymore. It actually shit the bed on me after about a year, and then I switched to the Blue Cube. I don't know if you've seen those. Those are. They're not a sponsor of the show, but I will say, like, that thing is amazing because it has that river function. So there's no way to escape the cold. Even in 50-degree water, you build up that thermal layer fairly quick. It makes it impossible. So I do it at 50. But yeah, it's like 2 minutes at 50 degrees, and that thing is brutal.
I did so I went to Nashville probably a month and a half ago and did a hot cold therapy, like sauna to cold plunge, and same thing. It was 47 degrees and it had the flowing water. And I had never done a cold plunge that cold before, and I think we did 3 minutes. And I got out and I was shaking so bad, and I could barely stand up. That's hardcore.
All right, so the cold plunge thing, and one thing I would say, because I've been doing it for several years now, and even when I travel, I'll do a cold shower first thing. I don't know if you do that when you travel.
I actually didn't. No, I should start doing that.
I mean, it's better than nothing. Because it's still cold enough to not be pleasant. It's true. Not cold plunge cold, but it'll absolutely wake your ass up.
For sure.
Was that the only thing you did?
No, so I do that, and then I do. I have a neurofeedback headset device. This is also from the nonprofit. It's basically sends EEGs in your brain, and it gets you can set it to focus mode, relax mode, all these different things, and it trains your brain and reads the signals off your brain to get you in those zones.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's just like a Bose headset with little sensors on top, basically.
So it's auditory, it's just sounds that does that for you?
Yeah, it's just sounds, And
I assume you find it does the job.
I love it. I need it because I'm an entrepreneur too, so there's days where I'll just be working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and don't realize I need a break, and I go do that for 15 minutes in my bed real quick, and it resets me, and I'm good to go with the kids and everything.
What brand is it? Does it have?
Neurova, maybe? I'll get it to you.
What does something like that cost?
I don't know. I got it from the nonprofit. It's part of the program, so I don't know.
Anything else routine-wise, whether it's morning routine or just day-to-day?
I do journal every day. Yeah, so that's part of... So my morning routine is... The kids go to school now, so it's very kid-centric, but cold plunge right away. So I wake up at 6. I wake up at 6, cold plunge. My daughter has to be off to school at 7, so drive her to school, or my wife does. We'd switch off. And then my son has to be at the bus at 7:30. And then... So basically during that first hour and a half, I do my cold plunge, take a shower, and then get them going, get them off the doors or out the doors while making my coffee and breakfast. Then I go up to my office and I do my my journaling for the day. I usually just do 5 minutes, nothing crazy, just to get some thoughts out. Especially I'm doing a YouTube channel now, so especially with that, it helps me kind of flush out some creativity and creative thoughts. And then the next hour, I'm just looking at what's for the day, what's my schedule, and what can I do to get ahead on the day. Yeah.
From a what you do job-wise, financial management, what does that consist of? I mean, I know there's a lot of different aspects to markets. Do you specialize in one thing, or do you do kind of a host of stuff, or what?
It's funny. It's one of the hardest careers to describe because like you said, you do so much. But I work with veterans, which is awesome. I get to it's kind of an extension of my service, right? I get to hang out with the people I like. But the easiest way to describe it is taking you from where you're at now to where you want to be based on your goals, right? So you want to retire at age 50 and have this much monthly income. How are we going to get there? How are we going to put in the risk mitigations, to keep your plan on track? So investing, life insurance, estate planning, cash flow planning, all of those things are kind of go into it. So it's a lot.
Is there one area of the market that you kind of either gravitate towards, specialize in, or spend more time in?
Yeah, as far as like the stock market.
Yeah. Or
So we're we invest passively. So we do use passive ETFs and index funds for most of our portfolios, most of our models. It's the tried and true way, man. It's not the sexy thing, but it is the tried and true method that works over a long period of time.
Is that more of like a lower risk, more predictable?
It's more diversified is really what it is. So, so yes, with diversification comes lower risk. So yeah. I'd say it's more diversified.
What's the deal with the bond market right now? Like it's at a tipping point, right?
It's a confusing bond market right now. To be honest, I don't have a good, solid prediction of where it's going to go or what's going to happen, because that is one thing that I try to stay away from predictions, to be fair, because as we know, like 90% of them are wrong. Yeah. So, man, I don't have a good answer on that, to be honest.
I am not a financial planner, but one of the neat things about where we're at as a society technologically is what you can learn from YouTube and Patreon channels and Discord memberships and stuff of people who are. And one of the recurring themes that I see from a lot of different, whether it's crypto specialists or financial estate managers or index, whatever, is saying that, like from a temperature gauge standpoint of the potential of the U.S. economy collapsing, is that the single best predictor is the bond market. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that, and then there's actually what is it called? I think it's called a Buffett indicator or something like that.
Why is that?
Why is the bond market?
Yeah, why is that such a relative indicator of the economy's volatility?
I might not have the best educational answer on this, but my answer and my view on that would be because it kind of shows the strength of and trust in the U.S. economy, right? When people are buying bonds, then there's more trust and more security. When people aren't buying bonds, then it's the opposite. So I would say that's probably the biggest reason people say that. Yeah.
So I guess to me, it sounds like one of my favorite adages, which is what you do speak so loud I can't hear what you say.
Yeah.
Like you can predict and future, predict whatever you want, but the reality is the actions of either buying them or not and the rates that they're at or not is the biggest reflection of what's actually happening. Is that a fair?
Yeah, that's a fair estimate. Yeah. And it's the financial markets are really difficult to be in the projections game on, right? Even active mutual fund managers, I think the stat, it's over 90% of them underperform the stock market every year. It's pretty mind-blowing how high the lack of success is in predicting financial markets. So I try to be careful around that, I'd say.
Well, I think if you just mirror Nancy Pelosi,
you'd
probably do all right.
That's true. 10x every stock you buy. So my core philosophy with the markets in general is invest for the long term. Invest in low cost index funds for the long term. Yes, there's going to be ups and downs, but just stay the course and let compound interest work for you. That is.
Are you into crypto at all?
I'm into it as far as educationally, not invested. Yeah. I'm trying to learn more about it so that I'm more educated about it, because it's a reality that's happening. Yeah. So I think it's going to be relevant.
I assume it's not something that you invest any of your clients
not yet.
into?
No, not yet. Just the biggest reason is just the regulations. It's just not there yet for us to put our clients' money in. Yeah. If my clients want to be in the crypto game, I tell them, hey, 10% of your portfolio on your own, do it on your own, have at it. Yeah.
You personally aren't invested in any of it?
I do have a small amount, nothing crazy. I just have a small amount of Bitcoin, nothing.
To me, there is an interesting, I would say almost not tipping point, but unsuredness, financial market-wise with crypto that I'm curious about from a traditional financial planner's standpoint. It seems like there's a lot of resistance and hesitation for the Warren Buffett, Dave Ramsey OG kind of mentality towards investing that's very anti-crypto. And then, of course, on the other end of the spectrum, you have people that's all they do. And we've all heard the stories of, the guy that put $100 in it when Bitcoin was 9 cents a coin and, now has $40 billion or whatever. But I am curious, like even if we're talking long term and whatever is do you forecast or think that the possibility even exists that the more and more mainstream predictions that are becoming of the utility coins, the Cardanos, the XRPs, the Solana, Ethereum, HBAR, like all of these not shit meme coins that are pump and dump that, the Trump coin and the Doge coin and what,
the ones that have ecosystems.
Yeah, and to me, like Bitcoin also is more of a digital gold stored value component, more so than an actual peer-to-peer transaction. But that core group of half a dozen or so utility coins that have these ledgers that the possibility for sure, at least in my opinion or assumption, exists that those could be woven into and ultimately replace Swift, Zelle, Venmo, to where it's so institutionalized in our financial system that your average everyday citizen doesn't even know that they're using it because it's woven into the bank at such a level. Do you see that happening?
I do. I actually am a crypto optimist in that way. I think the whole NFT timeline kind of gave it a bad rap and a really bad speed bump because now the guys like Dave Ramsey and Warren Buffett, have something proven that is like, that shit didn't work. That was kind of a waste. A lot of people lost a lot of money in it because they were chasing it. But I do see the potential for the utility like you're talking about, especially in cases of like real estate and things like that, right? Like a real estate transaction, stuff like that. It's just, there's so much more security behind it and it's so much faster and more efficient.
The cross-border payment and wire fraud that is like, I'm astounded at, in 2025, like how many people when buying houses somehow get scammed into wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars to somebody that somehow got in the middle of it, and it's like, you can avoid all of that.
100%. And it's traceable, right? You can see exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So I am an optimist in that regard. I don't know which one, right?
That's
the hard thing, right?
Yeah. $1 trillion.
I don't know which one, but on the Bitcoin front too, I'm the same way. Like when you're starting to see companies use Bitcoin as like a treasury for their company, you know what I mean? Like they're storing Bitcoin as a store of value, and it's starting to get more and more adoption. So yeah, I am definitely a crypto optimist. That being said, I'm still not investing clients in it yet because of the regulations. Scrutiny.
I mean, to me, there's also an almost irony or double-edged sword in that, like, we're at this weird fork in the road with it, I feel like, and that, the original intent behind it, the spirit of digital currency or cryptocurrency is the antithesis of centralized, institutionalized banking, financial systems and networks.
Yeah.
But we're at this weird point where if, for the amount of people that are now invested in it to the level that they are, for it to go to the 5, 10, 15, 50x generational wealth levels that are, I guess, technically possible depending on what the inflows are, it has to be institutionalized.
Yeah, has to be mass adoption.
So it's like, you can't have total decentralization and anonymity, but also be so easy to where it blows up to where, mom and pops, at a garage sale or, I'll send you fucking $40 of XRP.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like you have to pick one. Is that correct?
No, that's a good point. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because the more adopted it becomes, right, by countries and things like that, the more
institutionalized it becomes.
Yeah, centralized essentially it becomes. Yeah. No, that is a good point.
But it also seems like, when you have BlackRock and China and the U.S. government, the amount of money that they're starting to stockpile in it, like it's this avalanche that is probably at a point where it's unstoppable to get to that point. It's just which one or which ones and when.
Yeah.
Because I do foresee, if that institutionalization happened too quickly, it could collapse the entire financial banking system, at least here in the United States.
Do you mean if like cash becomes irrelevant?
Well, not,
Or the U.S. currency?
Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, if adoption happens so quickly
Yeah.
that now J.P. Morgan Chase and B of A and Wells Fargo, are solvent,
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah,
Is
could you
that now
imagine?
everybody, hey, I want to pull my money out. We don't have it anymore. Like,
Right.
I could see that happening if it goes too quick and is too knee jerk.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
That makes sense. That'd be a 08 repeat. That'd be
Yeah.
a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What didn't I ask you that I should have?
That's a good question. I think we've covered most of it. Oh yeah. So what I'm doing now is, well, obviously I'm doing the book. I got a YouTube channel out, the Nick O'Kelly. I'm just really what I'm doing with it is bringing lessons learned from my military time. You know, like all the mindset crap but all the mindset stuff that like we take for granted as former soft guys that is pretty beneficial in almost every aspect of life, like especially as an entrepreneur. As you know, there's so many things that are relevant to from our backgrounds to what we're doing now. Yeah, that's it. I think everything else we've covered.
Yeah. The book comes out October 25th?
21st.
21st.
Yep.
Stigma. I encourage anybody who found our conversation relevant and interesting to pick it up. Is it available for pre-order yet?
It's available for pre-order
Yeah.
now,
On
and
Amazon and all that?
Yep, everywhere you can buy books. Yeah.
Awesome. I do have some swag for you.
Awesome, same. Thank you so much.
The box opens from the front at the bottom.
This is awesome.
I don't know if you're
Say
a
that
shit
again.
kicker. The front of the bottom, or the bottom of the front.
Got it.
It's kind of a weird box. I should just rip the
There we
fucking
go.
top off. But
Oh, dude.
I don't know if you're a shit kicker wearing kind of
That
guy.
is sick.
Yeah. So,
No, but I need one. That's
now you ha-
awesome.
and
Thank you.
Now you have an excuse. So.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Hope you enjoy it.
For sure.
I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing your story. I know it's one that very, very few guys with your background and experience and career would be willing to do, obviously based on the historical lack of it happening. So
For sure.
it happens far more often than people realize, and very few people talk about it. So I appreciate you kicking the door open
For sure, man.
and,
I think.
and getting it going. So.
Yeah, it was a necessary evil in my life. You know,
Sure.
it was kind of like a screw it, I'm doing it. So thanks for saying that.
If you could just show the
for
the
sure.
book cover to this camera here.
So there's Stigma,
Yeah.
and then I also got a little swag cup for you.
Awesome.
Awesome
Oh, dude, that's
160th
badass.
swag.
I am curious. Do you have a coin?
It's in there.
Oh no shit.
Yep, there's a
Let's-
coin in there.
let's
There's
go
some
in.
patches in there, and
Awesome.
some stickers as well.
It'll be going right up on the board there. So
Awesome.
thank you again for coming. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
having me,
Yeah,
Mike.
very
This
much.
is awesome.
Yeah, great.
I really appreciate it.
I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope truly that it has destigmatized anybody who's dealing with that in their journey, whatever path you're on in life, because I think at this point, like our society, no matter what industry you're in, we all know people who have struggled with this, and unfortunately some who have lost that struggle and are no longer here. And I know we both have friends that fall into that category, and I have no doubt that everybody listening knows somebody who has struggled with it as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was beneficial. If you didn't, you can choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mike Drop.